Extra 33 sold 3.3 million copies in 33 days. I heard. Ooh. I saw the tweet when it was at 33,000 likes. Just gonna make sure it's highest quality. Looks good. Is it a bit low? Let me know if that's better.
The desert wants you dead.
Still low?
If the sands don't take you, the storms will swallow you whole. But you don't have to walk this path alone.
Yeah, let me know if that's better. I can still turn up more if
Every
needed.
danger, there is
Ooh, flying.
the foundation of something greater.
Wait, you can build your own omnicopter? I haven't done that.
Desert power.
Is this volume good now?
Some claim to rule this planet. But Arrakis is yours to explore. To fight for. To conquer.
Did I name it wrong? You can correct me.
But there are forces beyond even your control.
Coming to PC June 10th. And there's gonna be an early access from June 5th. So we're gonna be playing it on June 5th on stream.
Master Arrakis. And it will open your mind. This is your path.
Wait, what is the real word then? How did I say it wrong? Omnithopter? Ornithopter. Oh, okay. Ornithopter. Okay. Almost. I also got some healthy snacks when I went AFK. Since you guys complain I'm eating chocolate all the time.
Hello everybody to our, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, last developer live stream before our head start and the full launch of Dune Awakening. I'm AnnieFuchsia. I have the honor to be your host for today. And I think I'm not the only one when I say I'm so excited for you to experience what our teams have been working on for the past years. So some of you have gotten a taste of what the game feels and looks like during the beta.
A bunch of us played.
But today we go beyond the beta and show you a glimpse of mid and end game of Dune Awakening. We have first a little segment where we talk beta and combat. We then have live gameplay of Haga Basin and also social hubs. We go into live gameplay of the Deep Desert. And as always, we have a Q&A in the end.
Was Deep Desert the name of the PvP area?
Questions from you, from chat, live during the stream.
Cool.
But before we dive into all of that,
yes,
let's watch a brand new video.
Ooh, fresh new video?
Combat in Dune Awakening is the fusion of melee, shields, ranged, abilities, and vehicles.
Oh, you can shoot with vehicles?
As you progress, your tactical options expand, allowing you to express yourself through different styles of play.
Oh my god.
In the beginning, combat is a short, brutal affair. Do everything you can to knock your opponents off balance and open them up for a retaliating strike. Keep an eye on your stamina, or find yourself in trouble.
Yep.
Early abilities change the paradigm. Use the voice to force your enemies to come to you.
I used that ability. It was pretty good.
Stagger an enemy. Knee charge into melee range. Ranged weapons like the Mauler pistol allow you to maintain distance. and take down enemies from afar. Until a shielded enemy enters the fray.
Okay, you can't
Bolted
shoot them.
shields change the nature of combat. Their kinetic barrier can only be pierced by slow-moving objects. Fast on defense, slow on attack. Swords, daggers, kinjals, and rapiers are effective for dealing with shielded enemies. But without a shield of your own, you will quickly be overwhelmed by enemy fire. But the shields also have a weakness beyond the slow blade. Ranged attacks cannot be fired from inside an active shield.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I actually know all of this. I'm like, yeah,
For the others to
I'm experienced.
Specialized range weapons can counteract shields. The drill shot rifle fires drilling darts that will attach to a shield and slowly pass through.
Oh, that's cool.
The disruptor fires statically charged darts at variable speeds to overwhelm the power supply of the shield. Abilities can turn the tide of any battle. Swordmasters use their deflection ability to close the distance and bring their crippling strikes to bear on their enemies.
Nice, triple kill.
Use their techniques to take to the air and bring death from above. Bene Gesserit stop enemies in their tracks with the power of the voice. Or use their Bindu dash to quickly close the gap. Mentats control the battlefield with their sentinel. Or use the Hunter Seeker for a silent takedown. Abilities, ranged weapons, shields and melee work in concert to allow mastery.
This is actually
But
so
beyond
informative. I like this.
mastery lies the spice. Consume it to awaken. Transcend human limits with new abilities and prescience. Seeing what others cannot, the narrow path to victory. Combine these techniques.
I didn't play
freely
with
to
the form that
experience
much.
Sandbox combat. Create unique strategies and bring them to bear against your foes. Always remember, Arrakis takes the weak.
Nice. It's a multiplayer game? Yes, it's gonna be like a co-op online game, a little bit MMO-like. There's gonna be different servers with a limited number of players who can be on it, and then you can play with friends, you can find new friends.
And we are back.
It's gonna be very
diving
guild-based.
Straight into our first segment, showing you
PvP
mid-game in
areas.
the Hogger Basin towards endgame as well. But first, let's of course introduce our guests for today. Here on this side, we did let him out of the doghouse. We have Joel Bylos, aka Chris Knife, our creative director. Joel, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi everybody. My name is, I have to admit it, Joel Bylos this time. So, because this is the last live stream, I'm going to admit that my name is Joel.
Love it.
It's fine. And
Is the video still a bit
looking
quiet?
forward to talking about everything we're going to talk about
I can turn it
today.
up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
and
asking
on
before.
this side, we have Scott Jr., our
Let me know if that's better.
executive producer on the
Or if it
game.
needs more.
New face.
Yeah, finally let me out. You know,
Yes.
the game is done.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's good to see you both.
This is
and,
good.
Good to talk about Dune finally.
Very excited. So, Scott, let us do a little bit of a throwback to beta.
Sure.
Players, as mentioned, have had, let's say, not a small taste, but a taste of the game, the survival aspect of the game. Maybe we can have an infographic where we actually see what the players in the beta
Well, I
were
actually did
able
start
to
watching the series,
experience. Here we have a
the
little
new one, I
infographic.
think.
What
Was there an old one?
the most valuable takeaway from this beta?
I think getting the game in so many people's hands so they can understand what we made. When we started working on
We did
Dune,
this.
we wanted to make more than just a normal survival game. We wanted to make a very
one on
Dune
Amazon?
game first and foremost. And so
I think it's on
that's
HBO.
not obvious, right, what we were doing because we were taking a lot of risks. trying to do
I
some
watched the
new
2 movies,
takes
and I
on
started
things to
watching the
make them
series. I'm
more
on like
Dune
episode
than
3 or
survival.
something.
So we have a lot of people finally being able to
Yeah.
play the game and understand.
I think it's time
what
to
we're trying
remove
do.
my
So
cosplay for
that
this.
was great, and then seeing the feedback and the reactions and all the social media posts, all the YouTube videos, it's been fantastic seeing all the feedback. My personal takeaways is that we had a a couple technical issues that we were able to sort out and get fixed pretty quickly. Some issues with some crashes and freezes that we've already fixed.
I don't think I ran into
I'm
issues,
really
did
excited
I?
to get the game out next week so everybody can see what we've changed.
Yep.
Anything you
100%.
wanted to add?
What's the series name?
No,
It's
I mean,
called
for me, it's just a
Dune.
lot of fun to watch people finally playing. Like,
Something.
someone asked me on Discord like a year ago, like,
Is
tell
it
us about the
Prophecy?
game. They wanted me to describe the game. They weren't in the beta, and I was like, well, it's very hard to describe because it's something unique. Yes, it has some familiar survival stuff, but we've layered it all underneath the Dune IP, and it's really hard to describe how all of those things come together to create something that I feel is kind of unique and interesting, right? And so,
Because putting the Dune
I think it was
IP
fun for
is
people
not
to
just
really
like,
get their hands on it. I mean, we've
here,
been talking
name
to
some
closed beta
characters and give them
players for a
dialogue to
while,
dump lore.
but seeing people
But there's
in the
actually
world
mechanical
having it, streaming
effects
it,
of it being
putting up
Dune as
YouTube
well.
videos talking about what they were experiencing.
So it's really cool.
I think, importantly, people finding out whether they like or dislike the game as well, because I really like people to be able to make an informed choice about what they're buying as well. So, yeah.
100%. I think one thing I can add to this as well is like for me, having a
Listen
bit
to
more of a
me.
bird's eye view of how the developers and the teams are reacting to this, because me too, we have been so close to the game for such a long time, you can't really judge it anymore, like from a normal like gamer perspective.
Dune is a
Seeing
huge
all
setting to
those
put something in,
amazing
impacts so
kinda,
much. Yeah, it really does.
Obviously there was feedback as well that we kind of needed to address and things. More on that in a second. But it was just so fun to see how everyone kind of was like,
But is the mechanic there because of the
"No,
lore?
we have
Yeah, I
something
mean,
here,"
things like
people are enjoying it,
the
and
worm,
they're getting it, and they're like
you know,
having fun playing the game, and that was really great to
all
see
the
from
desert.
that perspective as well,
like that
which was
affects the
awesome.
gameplay,
And the
right?
moments like people almost getting eaten by the sandworm, right? Those are
And
very tense moments.
getting
that happen in the
moisture
game.
from
Just,
people and
seeing
things
the
like that,
reaction
you know?
was fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was one thing I really enjoyed. Was also like
It's definitely not
watching
just
people
like
coming in.
a skin.
I don't want to say skeptics, but they kind of
Like,
as they hit the beats
Normally,
of the
a
game,
lot of times
as
when you
they
play a game,
progress through the
then they
game,
put
in
the
the beginning,
skin
they're like,
of
okay, this is this,
whatever
and this
IP
is
they
this, and
want,
kind of,
and it becomes complete.
and then like they're like, wait, you can.
But in this
combine the
game,
suspensor
you
belt
put the
and
Dune
single
there,
wire
and Dune
cord,
has
you
to be
can do-
central
oh, wait, you can do
suddenly.
these things?
The game has
Oh,
to like
cool,
go
I got
around
the- and suddenly
Dune,
the game,
other
like, it's
than the
opening
other way
up more
around.
and more, and
if
they're
that
really
makes
starting
sense.
to understand the philosophy of how we approach the development with the
Yeah.
sandbox, right? So, I don't know. As I saw people experience, I was just like, oh god, people they're seeing it and doing it. It's
They
great.
get it. They have
get
those
it.
light bulb moments that you were
Yes.
hoping for, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and they just were growing more positive as they played more, right? And
Yeah.
that to me is huge. It's really important.
Yeah, and it's, as I mentioned, that are the things that are really great to see from kind of an outside perspective as well.
And it was good. It's the first slide was showing this, right? It's just the first 20 hours, so it's just a taste
Yep.
of the game, right? It's just the very beginning of
Guys,
Act
I'm
One.
just realizing
We
now
have
how
so much
incredible
more to show,
timing we
and
did
the best
Expedition
part for
33.
the
The rest,
can
quite a
talk
bit,
about it.
like a little bit of the stream
Actually.
as well. But
To be
going
like
back
ready
to
for
the
this.
Delta weekend, there were of course some things that weren't that great, that didn't go as planned. One of those moments was, of course, the PvP moment in the broadcast, and when it comes to melee combat specifically. But we have actually worked on this and addressed it. Scott, maybe you can give a bit of
Yeah,
context
so
to that.
we were aware of this issue. We've been in closed beta for a year and a half
Yeah.
almost now, right? The new combat came in August of last year.
Yep.
And we've been making tweaks based on feedback and playtests that we've been doing. So going into the beta, we knew that there was that issue around stamina and what would happen if it ran out. And we'd already been working on it for over a month to try to fix it. So we patched out a change to it. Do you want to go over the details of that?
I mean, the high level changes it's something like this now, right? So heavy and slow blade have been separated as attacks. So a heavy staggers people now, and then a slow blade finishes them off, like or goes into the slow blade attack. So you actually, now holding the button, you'll actually do a heavy attack. All attacks have now got proper stamina costs attached to them. And then in addition, if you're in a place where you're getting into the stun lock situation, you get an ability which is called Second Wind. It just pops on. It starts to restore your stamina bar quickly so you can dodge out of any sort of stun lock in that situation. So yeah, we've been doing balance around stamina costing on everything. We've been doing balance around the way
I see.
attacks work. I think it's all working pretty well.
'Cause it led
Scott
to,
and I
like,
did
a
fair
stun
bit of
lock
PvP
issue?
ourselves.
We're pretty bad at
On
it.
the top
but
of a
we
shipwreck.
tried.
Won? Did you do well?
Yeah,
I
I won, yeah.
Day one,
He-
and Joel won day two. Maybe?
I think you won day one, but that was because
I have like
on
a
the second
permanent
day,
hairline
I slotted
here
the
now.
Bene Gesserit technique, the Mentat technique, which allowed me to avoid his voice power. And then he wasn't able to
I
get me
see.
anymore. So then it was fun. Like it's
Like
fun
a
to
rock,
see
paper,
how
scissors approach.
yeah how the dynamics work,
yeah.
right? So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, I think we're still we put it on the closed beta. We're getting feedback from people and testing. But one thing is important to stress, right? It's a live game, and we're going to
Yeah.
continue to patch and update. So we'll be paying a lot of attention to what happens as the game goes live and as people are playing. And we're here to make the game better. That's our job. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautifully said. Thank you. But enough just a dry talk. Let's jump into some gameplay. So we actually have an example of group gameplay. I'm like that word is just not as
I thought you were going to, when you said dry examples, I thought you were going to break out the wine. But let's,
Maybe I should. Maybe I would go better with alcohol. But yes, so we have some group gameplay, mid game actually.
Yeah, mid-ish game.
We can
Yeah.
probably just comment on it as
Sure.
well, what we're seeing and how it's different from what people have seen in the beta specifically.
Sure, you want.
Sure, yeah, I can go. So if you played to the Vermilius gap,
Erythrite.
the journey is still very isolated to yourself, right, and your sand bike, and you have a small base. As you're moving into the next areas, like the Hugget, or this is the Rift, right? You unlock
You don't
the
have to
buggy, and
manually
the
click
great thing
farm
about the buggy
anymore.
is
Like
it allows you to start
you can do it
mining
in the machine.
from your vehicle, and the resource
The Real
requirement
Nasty,
as
thank
you
you
go
for
further and
29
further into
months.
the game is more intense.
Thank you,
But
you.
the buggy and other systems like that allow you to increase your harvest rate also.
Yep.
And this is a fantastic part, right? Just
Yeah.
moving around, going to the different resources, either switching yourself to the turret, or if you have a friend, having the friend
Yep.
man the mining laser, right? And then being able to harvest resources.
Yeah, the buggy's a multi-seat vehicle, right? So when you get to the mid-game, it's
Ooh,
good to start
multi-seat.
crafting that, right? And then you can get out there and you can harvest. It has a huge inventory space as well, compared to like the sand bike or what the players can carry. Our philosophy of design with the game, like I've seen people asking for more inventory space on their character, but our philosophy of design for the game was that you build vehicles and they become your inventory space. You can see how big this is and how much volume it can hold. So the buggy really is like your mining vehicle of choice as you get into the mid-game. And if you're playing with friends, someone's on the turret, someone's in the driver's seat, you can have a friend in the passenger seat as well. You can bring multiple people, but you can also just like do this alone, jump between
Funky
seats.
Moses, thank you very much for the 2
In the
months.
interaction menu, you just select I want to drive now, I want to sit in the turret seat and mine. But I want to talk a little bit about this location because we're in this place called the Haga Rift. And as you can see, it's this dark, gloomy, it's basically a geological ditch. And Herbert talked about this in the book. He talked about the folk of
Geological.
Pan and Graben. And this Graben are these big ditches, these big
Book
chasms
mentioned.
that you have on Dune, on Arrakis. And in here, it's like the sunlight doesn't really penetrate to the bottom. And down here, there's been this ongoing war of attrition between the Atreides and the Harkonnen over this shipwreck, which is central to this area. And then as you come up out of the Haga Rift, you come back into these other areas of the map. And it's like, it's a different style and tone to the desert. And I know people have been concerned, or at least been worried that like
Oh, yeah, that
everything's
everything
one
is
biome.
just
But as you go
desert,
down
yeah.
into the Rift, you feel it's a very different place. And shout out to our world director, Jeff, like one of his big key points about the world was making sure that we had a lot of verticality. And I think Haga Rift is like an absolutely perfect example of how you can just keep going down and down through these galleries, and there's bases built up through the entire side of it. It's just this really fun place to be.
It's like make it deeper, make it deeper.
Exactly.
The whole planet is
Remember
desert,
him
isn't
saying
it?
that.
And this is where
It
all
is
the lights
mainly
come
desert,
into
but
play. So
I
headlights
think
on
they
vehicles,
have
personal lights
put
on
extra
players come
focus
in.
and extra
At this point,
efforts
this is where you
into
start
making
bringing
it so it's
things,
not just
and
a
yeah,
straight
it's fun.
desert
And
all the
it's
way
so huge
through.
because then you fly in
because
your helicopter too.
For the
It's, like,
player
wide
experience,
and
even if
yeah,
that's
very
maybe
fun
how
to
it looks
explore
like,
that way too.
you need some
the
variety
music,
to make it
the setting,
interesting.
The atmosphere when
So
you're down.
they've made, like,
you've
really
been
smart
in the harsh desert
solutions
in the
for
Vermilius
that.
Gap with like the bright lights.
Like, for
on
example,
you the
these
entire time,
deep
going, like,
areas
from
where you
shadow to
go deep
shadow,
inside.
to preserve water. When you get down there, like the music team's done a very good job of just setting the atmosphere. It feels almost cool.
Is
when
that
you're-
it?
when you're
That's
down
scary.
there.
That's
Can
our
you
base
fall
of
down? I
distance
guess
set
you
to, I
can.
think, where we're heading. So you can see the
Yes.
wreckage of like the wall. You can see that's a deserter base. Like because of the war of attrition that's been happening here, some of the Atreides and Harkonnen have deserted, and they've set up little camps around here, and they create like they're obviously hazardous. But now we're coming to a base that we created for this, and this is the
Cool.
Atreides base building set.
Yeah.
And this kind of, I think this is a woo. This is a great example of what you can do outside of the square blocks that
wow.
everybody was seeing in beta because they only had access to the first couple of sets.
That looks cool.
Yeah, and what's important as you get into the mid game, you start building up your infrastructure, and that's just as important as your equipment or your vehicles. So even if you lose a vehicle, right, like you make your buggy and you get unlucky enough to get eaten by a sandworm, like the the infrastructure will allow you to get back on your feet way quicker than that first.
Can we
wave gives.
can we stop for a second and show a pro tip here? I
Yeah.
really want to pro tip something. So, can someone go
Absolutely.
and use a chest?
Yes. Oh, you want to mention my favorite thing?
So if you go to the wait, is that a chest? Yeah. Okay. Go to. So if you're in a chest in the game and you have a vehicle anywhere on your land claim, you can go to the top of the inventory on the left there where it says backpack. Where it says backpack on the left-hand side, whoever's driving. Up there. Yep.
there
And
you
click the drop down, and you can select the vehicle storage. This is a massive quality of life for getting things in and out of your vehicles.
Yes.
Because we know it's a little bit hidden. It's not the easiest thing to find, but once you know about this, it ups your quality of life in the game immensely because you can
Right.
just drive in with
You
a
just
buggy
park
full
them,
of stuff,
and then you can take
go
them
into your
out.
base,
Yeah.
click any chest, click on the storage drop down,
Yeah.
and start taking things out of the
Another
back of
really
that-
nice thing with the
that
chest
vehicle.
was when you
It's
could.
something that the beta tester suggested,
I
isn't
don't know what
it?
it's called, but
Like
you can like
directly?
put in
This was something
items
people
that
were
are
asking
already
for
in
during
the
closed
chest.
beta, and we
Exactly.
implemented it. Yeah.
Another thing that I mentioned before, which is such
Like
a small
a
quality of
quick
life
storage. Quick
thing,
storage, I
but
think it's
we
called.
have that too. Is you don't have to empty your chest before you can move them.
Oh, exactly.
This
yeah.
is like that's
Yes.
just a complete mind blowing.
Oh, you don't have to empty them to move them?
So
That's
the
awesome.
game works in these phases of like.
I feel like in
the
every game you have to
beginning, you need a
you have to
sandbike
remove
to get
them.
off walking around, right? Then you move to the phase where you want a buggy to help you to harvest and gather resources. And then you move to the phase where you want to start building your first ornithopter. And so we have an example of this here. And the vehicle building in the game is very cooperative, right? You can see that these different, we're now adding permissions to allow people to help us to work on this ornithopter. So this, these guys are all in a group. And so people can cooperatively build. And of course, I think this is the medium, the assault ornithopter, as we call it. So it's the medium tier. But the largest ornithopter, the transport ornithopter, also requires, a lot of parts and a lot of people. So it's kind of part of the way we designed this was to make sure that we had this collaborative building system in the game, both for buildings and for vehicles.
This is my favorite part of the game, just the building the vehicles actually physically in the world, right? Putting the pieces there, working with your friends to make all the parts of them, and then like mixing and matching the different modules.
What
to
game is
make
this?
the
this is
vehicle,
Dune Awakening.
Fit the role that you want
let me
to
put,
like use the vehicle with for that
Title
moment.
at the beginning of my
Yeah, and
title.
vehicles come with different module sets, right? So you can put inventories on some. You can, like we talked about the buggy.
Game
you can actually have
title,
a rocket turret on top of the
Awakening.
buggy, which I think you
Exactly.
saw in the combat trailer
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
You saw the buggy firing rockets. So you can have different types of things on the different
Yeah,
vehicles.
title
and we'll
in the
continue
title.
to expand that post-launch as well, making the vehicles more and more useful with utility. Yeah, it's fun, right? And then I guess the other side of this is that we can start talking about variants and swatches, which is our
He's actually
customization
going to
system.
change in a second. We'll
Yeah.
actually see that.
So
there we go.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
Atreides ornithopter.
these guys are aligned with the Atreides.
Boo.
So here we just switched out the Atreides and a variant. Just to put the distinction in place, a swatch
Was that a
allows you to change the
pink?
color sets, but a variant allows you to change the physical
Style,
visual.
yeah.
The
So
actual
this is
model,
the
yeah.
this is the shape of the Atreides. It's got the hawk-like lines. It's got the sharp angles.
Boo.
And the Harkonnen have more of an insectile kind of feel to them.
Mm.
And so this is and you earn these variants in this case by leveling up in the factions, which is a part of the mid game, which we aren't really showing a ton of that today. But as you join a faction, go through their quest lines, you earn access to these kind of variants and
Right.
things like that. And then you're able to use the Atreides.
Can you max multiple
colours and
factions, or
swatches.
do you have to pick one? I
variants.
don't
Yeah.
remember.
Both on vehicles and your armor, right? So
Yes, vehicles,
you-
armors.
You
Yep.
can represent with your Harkonnen clothes,
Yes.
running in the deep desert,
Yes.
perhaps.
You pick one.
And that's
Okay.
it's important to note that like a lot of our philosophy around this was as well like you create. So let's say you create.
She's
a,
gonna have all
um,
pink
tier
ornithopters.
four,
I'm gonna have to
like a
find out who
mid-tier
does the
armor
most
set,
pink
and it's
look.
like a scout
Yeah.
armor. You can variant swap that to look like any other scout armor in the game. You can't turn it into
You
a
can
heavy
change
armor
one
or
time
a
and never
combat
pick
armor
again if you
because
betray them.
we want people to understand. In
So it's
PvP
actually
what they're
final
fighting,
decisions.
But you can change it into any other visual of a scout armor, and it's the same with social clothing. It's the same with,
That's
obviously
crazy.
combat armor, and it's the same with still suits,
Yeah.
which I mentioned, which are kind of our four major.
Is the volume
armor
good, by
types
the
of
way?
game.
And as you
Social.
mentioned,
Of the show?
Oh, sorry.
No, I was
And
just
that's
going to say social medium, social scout, combat, and
Still suits.
Still suits. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what they're showing
okay.
right now is the vulture mode and
Yes.
the ornithopters. So
Sorry.
ornithopters are great, right? Because you have your helicopter mode where you can move in all directions. You can switch to the vulture mode, and then it's more of like a glider where you're going up and down to gain speed.
Yep. Yeah, so-
basically a airplane mode and a helicopter mode, so to speak.
Yeah,
right?
Sort of.
it's like a hover mode and a glide
Yeah.
mode, right?
Yeah.
And the vulture mode allows you to be more maneuverable. You see that they have a boost module. Actually, this is fun. Like when you get to too high in altitude, you start increasing your fuel consumption, which prevents people from going too high in the game. Also good to know for people who want to stay, close to the ground.
Oh, so it costs
Yeah,
less
and now
fuel
we're
to
flying
be
through
lower
an area of the map
down.
known as the Shield Wall, which is on the
Interesting.
para-northern side of the Hager
Yeah.
Basin. We can talk about the para-directions at some point, because that's always awkward and weird. But
To influence people
Paranorth
to
is
fly
really
low
south
down.
in relative terms to the map. But this is these are rocky areas, so the sandworm is less of a threat up here, but the enemies are much harder, and the resources you gather up here are much more value, right? To what
Are
you're
we
doing.
in
So
deep
these
desert right
areas
now?
where you harvest.
And the
Yeah.
first time you're coming here, you don't
Oh,
actually
the
have an ornithopter. More than
the
likely, you
ode.
don't, right? So
Yes.
then you're having to make the choice of like, do you bring your buggy here, which is really high, really hard to get to, or do you go with your sand bike and try
Yep.
to climb up the wall? So it's ultimately it's about choice, how you go to each of the biomes, and then which vehicles you bring, right? Which enable different mechanics based on the one you want.
Yeah, and like this area we're in now is known as the Uldum as well, and the Uldum has a little more plant growth and a little more greenery, and that's because the Uldum is an area where
You can carry
they were doing
multiple
experiments
vehicles, right?
on
Technically,
some
in
of
your
some of the land.
vehicle.
We won't talk too much about it, but yeah, we're gonna fly
tool
over.
thing?
I guess this is a
This is our
So you could
second
this is our
fly,
second
and then you
base
can
on the
use your
shield wall.
bike when
Yeah,
on the
so
ground.
this is the
Lots of pinch
guild
shields.
base. So this is further into the game. People have progressed a bit. They're probably so we divide the game into 4 phases: survive, protect, expand, and control. So this would be here. You're either on the expand or the control part of the game. The sort of last 2 phases, right? So you've got a bigger guild. You're working with a larger group of people potentially. You can still play the game solo at this point. Everything just takes a little longer and is a little harder to do on your own, right? And you can still do it. You can craft these ornithopters. There's no problem. But we encourage people to play together and work together in a multiplayer game.
And we're showing off some building sets we've never shown before.
Yes.
These
Yes.
will be Twitch drops.
These are
Yes,
Twitch drops. Yeah.
exactly. So the one this is actually that one's Chome building set, but
Old
those
Twitch drops or
round,
new ones?
Windows and the
I guess new ones.
Pieces, pretty much everything that's more metal than like white stone. Those are actually going to be Twitch drops. That
Those
you
are
will
gonna
get,
be,
so they
yeah,
can,
cool.
expand on the existing.
I don't think there's
Chome
drops now.
tier
I'm
set,
assuming on
which
launch.
I love them. I think they're very
Yeah.
cool.
I wonder if
They're
they would do
really
it on
cool.
early access or
Yeah, and you can see
actual
what
launch.
what we'd expect a guild base to look like, right? Lots of production going on. It was something that we were really pushy on in the game development, making sure that the fabricators actually show the items being
Right.
crafted as they
Yeah.
craft, so you see them
So cool.
form up inside the fabrication units. And yes, I know this isn't exactly something from Dune lore. This is one of the places where I was like, I have to make a concession to the game. They don't have fabricators, they're not mentioned in the lore, but it's fine because it's
It
cool.
looks cool.
Rule
Yeah.
of cool in some cases.
Absolutely.
And this
there's-
is a vehicle fabricator, yeah.
There's also circuits. Have we ever talked about circuits before?
Nope, not actively. You can.
Okay.
Please feel free.
They're pretty neat. It's not like as intense as like Factorio, right? Making blue science or anything like that. But you are able to set up different circuits in your base, so you can have some containers feeding into some fabricators feeding into others. You'll never have
Oh.
100% automation like you would get in a factory builder game, but it does enable you as you get to mid game to start having
To
a
automate
fair
some
bit of
things.
automation in the game when you're playing, because
Interesting.
water and electricity become quite a burden if you don't start upgrading your gear and the infrastructure like we were talking about before. So we introduced passive ways to get water, which is a huge help, because water in the mid and to the end game even is really important through all aspects, not just survival but also crafting.
For my fellow lore nerds out there, we call the passive water generation wind traps.
I was just about to say there are actually some wind traps on this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we've seen some while we walked by them as well. And yeah, it's just like you also
Oh, look
see
at that
here
plant.
how much bigger
That's
those
cool.
refineries are. We also saw a spice refinery
white.
as well, actually. Like
Yeah, there was
the
spice
round-
refineries
the round
there,
tubes.
yep. Yeah, and that we just saw a room with some decorations in it as well.
Yeah,
like
I really like their
so
doors.
you can,
Is that an
you can
Atreides thing?
pimp up your area in a sense, like
The
put out
door, which is
holograms.
like
it was quite
basically
funny
a-
because here's a fun anecdote
sheet?
from development. The artist
no.
made
You
a
can walk
bunch
through?
of the artist made a bunch of pot plants
Oh,
for people to put in their
no.
bases, and I was like, guys, it's June.
There is no water to water those.
So we have a
things
lot of holograms
in your
planted now.
buildings. Yeah,
I was like,
they
we
look
can
great
have.
though.
Then I keep saying the word holograms. Sorry, everyone. Solido
Solido
projections.
projections.
Solido projections are
You'd be
plans.
yelling at yourself.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'd
get
be
it
so
right.
mad. I'd be so mad if I wasn't me right now.
If you like decorations, you need to explore quite a bit, right?
Yes.
You know, we don't unlock them all.
Yes.
Go to trade posts, go to places where there are people.
I need
You
to
can
collect
unlock
decorations.
Tons of the stuff that you're seeing around in the
Yes.
base here.
Exactly.
You have to work a little bit for
You'd
it.
have to work a
though.
little bit
Yes.
for it, yeah.
Like explore, find people that
Yeah,
sell you
and
stuff.
and obviously these doors,
Or-
the pentashield doors and things as well. Like once
Oh,
you
hi,
reach a
Luna.
certain stage in Dune, you can put shielded doors out, so you don't have to have doors that open and close.
Exactly.
And that's really useful for when you have flying vehicles, you want to land in hangars, you don't
Oh,
have
sorry,
to
I accidentally
wait for a
refreshed
door
my
to
stream.
open.
Some of the cool stuff I've seen in beta is they will make a huge base, but it's kind of covering a road. So they'll open up
yeah.
the middle of it and then set
Think
the
you heard
permissions
double
on
for
the
a second
penta
there?
shield so that you can actually drive
Public,
through it. So
yes.
you can't go into their base, but you can still go through the middle of their
Yes.
base,
Yeah.
which is nice.
It's nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Good guy players.
Good guy players, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're actually gonna
Okay.
go.
She seems fine.
Up to the roof now and build a transport ornithopter.
nice.
Great.
Which
No.
not
No.
yet. Okay, not yet.
No, we're not.
Excuse me.
No, we're not. We're
We're
wrong.
gonna run around the base a little
Not
bit
wrong.
more.
We're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
Oh.
doing other things.
That's an. Yeah. Okay.
But
few ornithopters
what
hovering
we'd
around.
like
She
to
straight
do
up, like,
is,
just went
because
through
we're
my
actually
arms.
gonna go to a social hub later on, and we'd like to throw that to. Unfortunately, we can do only Twitch, so I'm sorry, YouTube. We love you over there too. It's just our bot is being a bit difficult, so we'd like to do a poll, throw that to Twitch chat only for today. Which of the social hubs you'd like to see? We have two available in the game right now. One is Arcane, the other one is Harco, and you can choose which of those you'd like to see today. So we give you like a few minutes to vote on that while our rockstars and wizards behind the scenes are preparing that poll for you, if it's not running already.
Wait, let's see if I can
And,
also
yeah, we can talk
open the
about it.
One
chat
of the cool
itself.
things that they were just showing there is the vehicle
Actually, yeah,
tracking
we can do it like
tool.
this.
I don't know if we've talked about that on stream too much, but once you build a sand bike or a light ornithopter, you can actually build a tool to hide it or like what's
What
the lore
social hub should we
reason?
visit? Use AH.
Let's go with the Ritchie's
Vote.
perfected miniaturization
Sure,
technology.
sure.
And
Which
the,
one
the
do I
player
want?
is able to miniaturize
A.
their vehicle, and it only works for vehicles that
Atreides.
have nothing in their inventory.
Correct. Yeah.
And two types of vehicle: the
I
sand
did it.
bike and
Yes.
the light.
I
scout
did
vehicle.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're flying past.
Highly recommend always using it. Right when
Yes.
you're going to a location,
Yes.
land, store your vehicle.
Yes.
Don't let it get destroyed by a sandstorm.
I learned
Exactly.
that the
Wait, it's not
hard way.
Atreides.
So I will
Oh.
never do that mistake ever again.
I see. We've gone this
I
territory
completely
here and
misunderstood
we're
the
flying
question.
over
I thought
giant
this was
power
a
stations in
Atreides versus
Satarian.
Harkonnen thing.
Don't
It's
look-
I don't
Arakeen
want
and
to
Harco Village.
Talk too much about it, but we'll let people figure that out in the game.
I got baited.
It's my favorite location.
Okay.
Me too.
It's
Mine
really
too.
Alright, well, I guess we're
absolutely
Team
Mine too.
Arakeen now.
The story
That's
involved
fine.
in it is
So
really cool.
please look forward to
Yeah.
it.
And there we have someone doing their vulture roll.
Oh,
It's very nice.
look at him
You can hit your
showing off
scanner
his
as well when it's flying.
moves.
I'm not sure to do that.
The
Yeah,
stream
so,
link,
like,
it's
that's-
at
Vehicles
Funcom.
obviously get like players got hand
Twitch.tv
scanners probably in the beta,
/Funcom.
but now you're up to the stage where you actually have a scanner and you're scanning entire like islands by pumping C. So the idea is that again, as you progress, everything just takes a step up in how quickly you can do things. We wanted the game to feel, well, you've put in the effort to get this vehicle. We're going to give you the convenience of being able to scan an entire island very quickly, right?
Yeah.
This is a trade post.
I like that.
This is the Crossroads trade post.
The
Look at
Crossroads.
the poll. It's super tight. I love that. Like right now, Arcane is slightly winning. So let's go,
Harco Village
Harkonnen.
is cooler.
I agree. I agree though. Well, both
We're going to see some footage from Harko
both
no matter
are
what we do.
super
Sure,
cool,
that's
though.
true.
Both are super cool, but I do like.
Yeah,
Harko
it's
Village
just
personally.
because you're an evil person and
I
you
am.
like Harkonnens.
I am just like.
Oh.
Something about that
like-
whipping noise.
No,
Did he just call her
sometimes I
evil?
always try to go evil in like games where you have a choice, and then I end up
course.
good anyway.
Yeah,
like,
feel
because
bad
you
for
can't
the-
bring yourself to do
Feel
it.
bad for those
No.
characters,
So-
I'm
right?
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So these are the pilots. They were disabled in the beta. You may have met one at the first trade post if you're playing.
And we're going to Arcane, by the way.
We're going to
won.
Arcane?
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
It's fine.
so we're going to go and visit Arakeen. All right, that's cool. The pilot only takes cash. So you can't have credit. You have to have cash. So we're heading to Arakeen.
She doesn't use it on sunscreen, that's for sure, because she was really sunburned. Like, so let's just get that out there. Yes.
Paying
but yeah, you need
cash.
to have the cash on you as
Yeah.
well.
One of the features in the game that we haven't really spoken about too much. I mean, well, we have a bit. We've spoken, but I don't think people picked it up in the beta. Oh, here we go. Well, I'll let us arrive because this is cool.
Cool.
Arakeen. And as we arrive in Arakeen, so one of the features we have in the game is the CommuniNet system. And when a player opens their CommuniNet, they can choose radio stations to listen to in the game, a la like a Fallout game or a GTA game. And this guy, Finno Gary, he runs this trash shop, but he actually has a show on the Atreides radio. And if you listen to the show, it's his daughter talking about their adventures on how they got all this salvage that shows up. So it's kind of fun to just like narratively listen. You know,
So the
we
radio
tried to
can give
connect
some
everything
like
in the world.
lore background
This is again.
of
I want
random
to make this point because I
characters.
feel like I see it sometimes online, and it's a little, let's say, disheartening. People, we
World building, exactly.
We were advertising the game and saying the word MMO, and then people were like, "Oh, they took all that off," and we took it off because we do feel like this is a huge world, completely worth exploring with lots of other people. But it's not an MMORPG, and people were getting confused by that.
Okay.
So we took it down. But I think it's clear when you look at places like our social hubs, our exchange system, our banking system, that we have a lot of elements from those style of games here, right?
So MMO-like,
yeah, we're looking at the
officially.
exchange right now. Players can post things on the exchange, and this is the banker.
Because the servers are limited
One of the great
to,
things
what
here is
was
you
it?
can
How many
actually
people was it per
store,
server?
items and credits, right? So say you're going to take
Per
a long
shard?
vacation, you're worried about your base getting destroyed for some reason, you can actually fly to Arakeen and dump a bunch of stuff in here.
I also actually think is like one of the great things here is his mustache.
Sure, yeah, that's
I was
also
expecting it to
fantastic.
get my
40,
mustache.
I
okay.
mean,
MMO survival, yeah.
we've all seen the
Yeah, a bit more like an
Fantastic
MMO
mustache.
survival.
You also pay taxes here.
Yes.
Like, because
Yeah.
you need to, like, for the bigger
Gotta keep
Chance
your
of seeing
shields
other
up.
people small.
You need to make sure you
I think if you're hanging out at a hub,
your
the chance to
taxes
see people
paid
is
to
decently
them.
high because a lot of the
and
map
this
is
this
like
where you pay. This is
deserts
the-
and stuff.
The
Sure.
imperial,
So you will probably
consulate,
find other
as we call
people,
it. This is
but
where
it's
you go to
not
pay
like
your,
you will
your
find hundreds of
taxes to the
people,
Imperium.
basically.
So the first sub-thief console that you place on Arrakis, the basic one that you place in the starting area, you don't have any taxes to pay on that. But once you get a bit further into the game, and you start building bigger bases, you pay taxes. Once you start expanding that land claim, which you do through these land claim extenders, you start paying more tax. So the idea is that the larger guilds who have more members, who are more capable of achieving things in the game, they have a higher tax rate because they're building out larger spaces. And that, that's our way of making it fair for people who only play solo as well, so they don't have as much tax to pay.
The other important thing about the cities is that's where you really progress through the faction storylines, right? So here's where you're going to come and officially join the Atreides or join the Harkonnens and start vying for the Lands Red system and getting involved in the politics.
We're
of
ready
the
for the
entire
5th.
world.
Yes, I am
And
ready.
this is where the
Yeah, you
advanced
can
trainers
preload
are
the
as
game
well.
on the 4th,
People
and then
who
you
wanna
can play on the
progress
5th.
Past the basic
4
level
p.m.
of training in their
So that's when we
particular
will play it.
chosen classes.
Except for Derek.
Oh, Derek, the planetologist, he's everywhere.
He's just traveling around.
He's everywhere.
He's a wandering
He's-
mentor.
he's-
You can
he's,
find him anywhere.
Yeah, he's here. He's there.
He's
He's
there.
He's everywhere.
Derek Chenard. Okay, no, enough. Sorry.
No, but you have contracts here, of course, as well, and
contracts,
specific
yeah.
vendors, so they have a lot of things to sell as well.
Yes, and the main story brings you to these locations as well.
Yes. So now we actually get a glimpse at the overland.
Yes.
Which
So,
is
Cool.
so you can use the pilots in the trade post to fly to the hubs like we showed, and you use those same pilots to get back. But once you have your own ornithopter, you can just fly to the edge of the Haga Basin map, and you'll get a prompt asking you if you'd like to go to the overland map. And this is the overland map.
Ooh.
And this is again one of the things that I think kind of
We didn't
breaks us
see
away
this
from
in the
standard
beta,
survival
right?
game. This is where we have the ability to infinitely expand this game, where we have multiple maps that players can go to. I think this is where you go to reach the deep desert. This is where you go to reach several of the story maps. Right now, we've landed on a fuel deposit. We're
Did
just
we see
picking
this
up a
in the
bit of fuel,
beta?
refueling
Because
our
I
ornithopter on
have
there.
seen this, but I saw this at
We're able
Gamescom.
to expand here for a long time, and this is kind of part of what, again, we wanted to do to make this a coherent universe, right? And make Dune
It wasn't
feel
the
like
beta,
something
but it was in the
that,
dev
we're gonna
videos.
be
Yeah,
working
yeah,
on
yeah.
and adding to
When
for
I
a
was
long
at
time.
Gamescom, I saw
post-launch,
this.
There will be new locations that show up here.
Yes.
We'll have events that have locations here for short durations.
Oh, when
right,
is
for,
is Switch
to shake
2
things
also
up
on the
and,
5th?
eventually when we release huge content.
2 months until
drops.
Gamescom,
They'll be
yeah.
accessible through the Overland.
Through
map.
the Overland map.
Exactly.
I'm considering
other thing
going,
that you can
actually.
find
I think
in the
Luality's
Overland
going to be
map,
there
which also goes
too.
into
It would be
the
the first time I
story,
meet her.
that we really would like to talk a little bit more about, because we haven't as you mentioned, it takes a while to also get the story going, so people during the beta weekend haven't actually seen
Right.
much of that.
Yeah.
So via the Overland map you can also access some of these story dungeons, and we actually do have some footage
We're
of
at
one
Gamescom,
of those dungeons that
considering,
lit
but
you,
nothing
and
yet.
Joel and Scott can probably give a little bit
Yeah.
of context.
And
for
that's
this
where
one.
I
Act two.
played a bit of
The-
Dune
yeah,
last
so
time.
Here we're not going to spoil too much of the story, but
Nope,
this
nope,
is kind
please.
of the theme of Act 2, right? You've moved from a survivor doing the trials, now you're getting involved in the politics.
Politics time.
Yeah, so there's a lot more interaction with NPCs, dialogue, there's a lot more cinematics, and a lot of locations
Voiced
outside the Holiday
cutscenes.
Basement that you'll be going to.
One of my favorite characters too.
Yeah,
I
she's
love her. Everyone does.
In the
Kind of.
Cone of Silence.
Yeah, we didn't mention the Cone of Silence, but you're inside the Cone of Silence here, and the game actually dampens all the sound outside of it when you enter, which is pretty cool.
To be distributed in the water supply of this water shipper.
The Cone of
Shore murky
Silence.
for lore people who understand.
What is that, by the way? I actually don't know
The
what that
Assassin's
is.
Handbook describes certain poisons. Shore murky is poison in the drink.
That's actually something I didn't know. Like I was wondering about that earlier. Like I didn't know what that term is.
So you see we have a dialogue system in the game where you can make choices based on several of the things that you've done in the game as well. Your background at the start has some payoff here.
This water shipper is wealthy.
Again, it's not like, we're not making an Obsidian RPG with all of the choices that something like that has, but we're doing a level of this that's above and beyond what most survival games do, I think.
And you will be interacting with some Dune characters that people
Well, look
are
at her
familiar
last
with.
name.
Yeah,
Dune
yeah.
fans probably recognize already that last name.
Yep.
All right, so we're skipping ahead here. We've jumped to the part of the mission where you're heading towards the water shipper's mansion, which is in the Imperial Basin just outside of Arakeen. The player is being sent there to assassinate and poison this water shipper on behalf of Alara Tuek. And so
That's close
we
enough.
come to this new level on the Overland map.
Keeps himself well guarded.
A new
Yeah, so
level.
your job is to infiltrate,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, she's talking and explaining the mission, but I can't hear it, so I'm just. But
One of the things we wanted to do is make sure all the abilities still work in these. So it is
Yes.
still very sandboxy.
yeah,
There will always be multiple approaches. You
Yeah.
know, if you have a Shiggle Wire Claw, you can use that to grappling hook over some areas. If not, then you're gonna have to be a little bit more stealthy and avoid the searchlights.
yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where our philosophy
So you
is
need to
like,
play
we
an
give people
Obsidian
all these
RPG?
tools, but it's a
Wait, what's
sandbox, play
that?
the way you wanna
Obsidian
play.
RPG?
Like
Pick their own business.
here, it's we have to find a guy called Yargan,
Dew harvesters
who's her
in the yard.
contact,
He's supposed to be waiting for you by one of the storage sheds.
Yeah.
and so like it's like you.
Is PK
we're
system in
quite
the game?
nice to people.
PK?
You might get spotted, but you can
Player
escape
kill?
the lights quickly.
PvP? If that's what
I
you
know.
mean,
You
yes.
can read the dialogue here. It's fun.
Yeah, there's
I,
PvP in the game. It's
of those
tied
ones.
to specific zones.
And again,
So it's
depending on
not
the background, you
everywhere.
actually get different choices to
Yeah.
to the dialogue.
Character creation is important.
But the end game revolves around PvP.
This he's a grumpy guy.
Games like KOTOR and New Vegas.
Because her old man got me out of a few scrapes.
Fallout New Vegas, or is it a different game called New Vegas?
We ain't met.
Especially when he talks about the place.
Got it?
You'll appreciate this option.
Good. Then ask your question.
It's like, so which background?
Guarded like a princess's virtue.
Which background do you have to get
Is
that?
Fallout
on?
New
So,
Vegas not Bethesda?
That one's for everyone for free.
It's for everyone. That's for free. Okay, there you go. I love that we have it in a video too.
You listen, smartass.
But there's
Oh, it was
so many
outsourced,
little Easter eggs and fun
okay.
things that you also wrote, like especially also
Does that mean
for,
it feels
like,
different to Fallout 4?
weapon,
Yeah, weapon
descriptions and
descriptions,
things.
item
It's super
descriptions.
fun.
Or was Fallout
like,
4
everything's
also a different
connected.
studio?
Like, for those of you who do like lore and who know Dune lore as well, you will find a lot of connections. But also
Ooh,
for
I
the ones
like
who
this place. That looks
Yeah.
cool.
don't, to just
He's also explaining the different ways that you can approach this quest right now. So he's sort of explaining to you, there's like 2 paths that you can take. Like you don't have to go this way, you don't have to go that way. Here's how you can get in, there's how you can get in, right? So as a player, you can approach this again in
Wait,
kind
so
of
who
that sandbox
developed
approach. Like-
Fallout 4?
Again, I don't want to oversell it. It's not
It
a
was
immersive
Bethesda,
sim
okay,
where
okay.
you have
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
Dishonored level of,
Yeah.
but you can definitely find alternate paths into the mansion to achieve your mission. And I think that like a shout out to the story content team with Bernard and the boys, as I call them. They've done a great job with these, setting them up. And here's what Scott was talking about, where you know, oh, like I've set the game up in this way. I'm a Benny Gesserit. I'm just going to stun this guy. And then I'll be able to walk past him and he won't even notice me. He won't call the guards because he doesn't see me. Right? And so you can use your abilities, your skills that you've picked up in the game to just pass through these areas.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I'm
right?
definitely going to play
We
Bene
just wanted to
Gesserit.
show that we have more than just, you know, the basic survival game. There's way more going on here.
Yeah. Especially, like, I think it takes about, if you, let's assume you ignore everything else, because there's a lot of choices for you how you want to approach Dune Awakening and what there's to do. But let's assume you're only going for the main story and like those cinematics and things. So it takes you, I did talk to Niels about it as well. It takes about 30 hours until the story really gets going.
Yeah, if you're playing by yourself, just experiencing all the survival elements and going at it alone, probably 30 hours to get to part 2.
Yeah, it's deliberately like, I'm not defensive about Act 1, but the first part of the game is deliberately somewhat light, just to give people that,
Somewhat light?
like, learn the world, acclimatize yourself, like follow up on the Fremen. You have the Fremen trials, and it's super interesting, and then we start introducing and layering the politics of the universe and more and more of this stuff, and more of your personal story, like what's going on, why are you the one being asked to do this, what's happening, right?
And ultimately, it is a survival game first, right?
Yes.
So the player needs to learn how to survive in Arrakis, right? And it's a very harsh environment. There's a lot of mechanics to figure out, and then you have to make your way through there and figure out how to get outside of the Haga Basin right before you can experience more of the politics and intrigue that are going on.
Exactly. And I really love that we have, I mean, the beginning of the game is kind of story driven, right? You get context to where you, well, a little bit of context what's actually happening. You have a person that talks to you and helps you at the beginning, and then as you mentioned, it goes more into learning the actual mechanics and the tutorialization of the game, and we give you time to get a bit acquainted with everything, or not everything, but a lot of the things, like the basic
water
mechanics,
shipper.
and then we, like, approach you again with the story a bit later on.
Idea for cosplay was this.
I love this guy, but we're cutting now because we're not going to spoil
Oh my
too much of
God.
what's going
No,
on.
exactly. So obviously we don't want to show too much.
Nice
more
worm
to this dungeon.
outfit.
What we're going to do now, though, is we're actually going to watch another video that's going to lead us into our next segment. So enjoy.
Cool.
Another video. Ooh, a trailer.
Power. Given the right lever, you can move a planet. In Dune Awakening, your path to power leads you through the great houses. But only accomplished guilds may earn their place among the Atreides or Harkonnen. Swear your allegiance and contribute to their rise in desert power. The pledge is only the beginning. You have come far, and now it's time to take control of the Landsraad. The Landsraad is the council of great houses that make decisions that impact all the players on all the servers in your world. Your goal, and that of your guild, is to secure their votes so that your faction, the Harkonnen or Atreides, can take control. To secure their votes and sway them to your side, you must complete specific house requirements on the Landsraad board. Alone or together with your guild, your efforts can move the needle. Be the first to fulfill a house requirement to not only secure their vote, but also reap their many rewards.
Playing
Whether
politics
you enjoy
and
PvE
grinding.
or PvP, there are many paths to victory. If you prefer the relative safety of the shield wall, there are many activities that will not put you into direct conflict with other players, while still contributing to your faction's rise to power. House Torvald wants you to eliminate sandflies. Rush in, or pick off the deserters one by one with your sniper rifle. House
I'm
Rashid
definitely sniper,
wants a
'cause I play very
delivery of
stealthy.
ground cars.
For sure.
Join up with friends and build strongholds for large-scale production and deliver them safely to the House representative by ground or air. Large-scale production is costly and will require a lot of resources. To be able to craft certain high-tier items, you will also need the most sought-after resource of all.
With your aim? Hey, everyone knows my sniper aim is pretty
Spice.
decent. It's my close range aim, which is a bit
You can
questionable.
buy spice from spice merchants or on the player-run exchange. And it can even be found in smaller pockets behind the shield wall.
Ooh.
But to collect industrial quantities, you must venture into the unknown. The deep desert beckons. Here, violent Coriolis storms sweep across the vast expanse of sand, resetting the map every week, revealing new resources to mine and points of interests to explore. This ever-changing environment offers endless exploration, but also endless conflict. Each house in the Landsrad desires a specific control point in the deep desert. Seize it and hold it over time to gain their vote. Fortify it and be ready for a fight. Other players will soon come to take it from you.
Yep. I hope they can figure out the stun lock in PvP. They actually talked about it. They have done some fixes
spice blows,
to adjust
offering large quantities
giving the stunned
of the precious
person
melange.
extra stamina or something. Stamina
You
regen.
need a lot of spice. Once you've located a spice blow,
So
Move your
yeah, I
harvesters
guess they
in
are
place
aware of
to
it and they're
collect.
trying to do something. I don't
Just
know if
be
it's
ready
completely
to
fixed
defend
now or
it
if it's still a work in
with
progress.
your life.
But I think it's a good sign that they talked about it in this video or in this like talk, rather than trying to like ignore it.
After a week of politics, manufacturing, and conflict, one side emerges victoriously. The Harkonnen have seized the Landsrad, and the leaders of the player guilds who contributed to their victory all get to vote for a decree.
The stun lock is overblown.
that
It's
will
only an issue if you
impact
don't take the stun to make the kill
everyone on
shot.
a server belonging to that world.
Well, apparently the game
They choose
disagrees
to
with you
unlock
because
exclusive
they
weapon
are taking it
import
very
rights.
serious and they have made a
By
change.
decree of the
And
Landsrad Council,
They will continue
under
to
the
monitor
seal
to
of His
see
Imperial Majesty,
if more needs to be done or
a
if it's
trade
working now.
consortium has been authorized to visit Arrakis, providing Harkonnen players with exclusive access to a unique weapons vendor in Harko Village.
Okay. Cool. Those are some cool looking
As
weapons.
the Harkonnen
Sandworm.
Landsrad term begins, the race for control in the next term.
Uh-oh.
Welcome back. No technical problems at all. It's all fine.
Oh.
No one would have noticed if you didn't say anything, Scott.
Sorry. That's my job. Pretty sure.
For a second I was like,
couldn't hear
wait,
it, but I'm pretty sure
it's
it cut off
intended,
mid-video.
but now they talked about it.
Yes, I can hear
I
you.
got
But
gaslighted for a second.
The video is going to be available after the stream anyway, so you can watch it all its glory.
Okay, nice.
Lancelot. Talking about Lancelot, so let's go to the next segment, endgame and Lancelot. So
It was intended.
we know
Yeah,
people
for
have,
sure.
of course, expectations of what the endgame and Lancelot, and especially Deep Desert, looks like, and what it's for, and how people will use the Deep Desert, and how it works. A lot of those things. But I think before we go into more details and show some really exciting gameplay as well, Joel, I think it'd be cool to talk about the vision for what the end game is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, going back to when I joined the project, like, so this is 5 years ago, right? And we were talking about what is a good survival game, like, because Dune, you know, we were making a Dune survival game, and we were talking about what is the vision for an end game in Dune. And the kind of the goal and the idea, at least in the beginning, was like we started with, hey, like,
Guys,
you start
is it
by
pronounced
surviving
June?
in the desert, and it's that raw nature versus, you know, mankind kind of thing. It's the sun, it's the sandworms, it's
If
the
you're
storm.
English.
But then you move into this new mode of
Okay,
survival,
and if you're American,
which is
no?
political survival, which is the end game of the game needs to be about these big forces, right? The Imperium is made up of the great houses, the Landsrad, the Emperor, the
Because I was
Spacing
wondering
Guild,
if there was no
showing
reason
all
to
of
mix
these
up
things
Dune
have
and
influence,
Doom.
and you as a player are just a small
If
cog in the
Dune
machine.
is just pronounced
But
June.
we want you to be able to feel like you're participating in this big umbrella system. And so we started there. And then we talked about, like, there's an element of, like,
I'm
I
saying
think
it
very
correct?
technical
Okay.
game design here, where we talk about player activity cycles through the week. I was looking at, like, games like Rust. You know, Rust has their server resets, which is great for, like, people to start building up, and people really enjoy that cycle. But a lot of people also love having their stuff and not losing it. And so we talked about, like, okay, what about a place, and in Dune it's perfect, right? You have these Coriolis storms, and there's scenes in the book where the sand is just tearing apart cliff faces and ripping down the things in the desert and revealing things from beneath the sand. And so we said, okay, what if we had a map, the deep desert, and in the deep desert, the landscape changes every week. How does
Every
that
week?
affect gameplay? And then we started there and we talked about, okay, what about if there's a cycle of events that we want players to go through? And again, this is a design. This is a high-level design.
We might actually have an infographic or a visual asset for that. A week cycle of.
Oh, do we?
Yep.
Cool. Fun. You guys are on top of things. I know nothing. Oh,
No,
no,
not
no,
that
no.
one.
Sorry, that's
Not this
not
one.
that one. But okay. Either way, I can
Maybe
just
it's
keep,
not right. Maybe
I
we
can just-
didn't make
I
it
can
in
just
time.
keep talking.
Yeah,
Just
go
keep
for
going.
it.
It's
Go
fine.
for
Sorry,
it.
everyone. I know it's just
Go for
boring
it.
old Joel. But like we wanted to approach this right. So we were like, okay, what if there's a map that resets and the map changes every week, so that it's an infinitely explorable space? And we worked backwards from there, and we said, how do we build a lot of our game systems towards this? So we started with the idea of, yes, the map resets. When would we want to reset the map? Let's say we reset it on the lowest player activity day of the week, right? Which tends to be a Tuesday night or a Wednesday in these kind of online games. And then we're like, okay, and then there's this activity we
Is
call
that why
scouting
WoW is
and
also
cartography.
reset on
And
Tuesday,
then we built
Wednesday?
a game mechanic around cartography and scouting, which I think we're going to show in a little bit. And that is, and maybe you saw it, we definitely tutorialized it in the beta, you reveal parts of the map. And then we made it so that you can save those maps and sell them to other players. So we create a loop there for players who are scouts, and that happens, let's say, you know, in a player activity week, it happens during the low ebb. The deep desert gets revealed. Everybody needs information. How do we make information a commodity? We create a cartography and a scouting system. Then once that information is gathered, people share it with their friends and their guilds. Then they start setting up what we call a logistics plan. How am I going to control the spaces in the deep desert that I want to control? What is my guild looking for? Are we looking for spice? Are we looking for unique schematics? Are we going after shipwrecks? Are we going after the ecology labs that have been revealed? Like, what are we doing this week? So then they go set up. And then the weekend, which is when the highest player activity count is, that's when people are online. And that's where people really participate in the activities in the deep desert, whether that is running ecology labs with their friends or shipwrecks or fighting over, like, control points in the deep desert. And then after the weekend, I should say, on top of this as an umbrella is the Landsrad. And the Landsrad are asking you to do activities that take place both in the deep desert, but also outside of the deep desert. There's a lot of PvE stuff in there. And then at the end of that activity cycle, everybody votes.
No.
It sets a server
Okay.
wide change, like a worldwide, I think we should say in our terminology. It changes every rule set
She's
in the world can
gone.
be changed by the Landsrad, and then the Coriolis Storm happens again on a Tuesday, and we start over again with
Yep.
a new weekly cycle. And this is kind of the vision and dream for how the endgame should play out and how we would like it to work. And yeah, I mean, we'll talk about how that we've set everything up for this to be the case, but of course, no plan survives first contact with players. So another point I would like to make is just we're a live game. We'll continue to tweak and update these things. So, but let's maybe look at and talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, let's look at some gameplay. Actually, some activities that you might be wanting to do. So we have like actually a team here that will now go into the desert.
Okay. So we've gone through
We're
the
going to
overlay
deep
map,
desert.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and we're
Shield Wall
in
now.
the Shield Wall, which is the southern part of the deep desert.
It's the PvE area.
Correct.
so to speak.
Yeah.
This
So-
is the PvE
it was-
space.
It was important for us so that people that are scared of PvP or reluctant to get engaged with it, right, that they had a place in the deep desert that they could go to without, instantly getting killed as soon as you're coming
So there's a
through,
place
like
in Deep
Warping,
Desert,
right,
which is not
bait
PvP.
camping or whatever from other games. And this is also where you set up your base of operations.
Yes.
The very first area, because the deep desert is gigantic. There's no water here,
Yes.
and you need to have the logistics set up. And
Yep.
Oh, there's no
you can
water
go there by
here.
yourself. Like I fly there on beta. I try to stay away from people because, as we said, we're not great at PvP necessarily.
People call it ratting.
Yeah,
Right?
ratting.
People, you can go in and rat.
Oh, I'm totally
Rat
right.
raid.
Absolutely.
But just to point out one thing here, because
Rat's
these guys,
gameplay.
so again, coming back to like how do we get towards this vision? We started with how do you build this is going to get wiped every week. How do we encourage people to build bases? Well, first of all, we created this blueprinting system. You bring the diagram of your base, you place it out, and you build it quickly, right? This is very fast. It doesn't take very long when you're with a few friends. You get a base put down, you build it up quickly. This
It's
is part
pretty
of the
good
logistics
to
cycle.
quickly
of the
build
deep desert.
You can either bring the
skeletons of
resources
your houses,
from Haga
basically.
Basin and all the vehicles that you're bringing with you, or you can harvest there's quite a bit of resources in the shield wall.
Yep.
So you can set this up.
So this is what's happening here. We're building a forwarding base.
Exactly. I was going to say that this is obviously a forwarding base because it is kind of very boxy again compared to like the actual home bases that we saw earlier. Because this is all about efficiency, right?
Yes.
And like fitting
Yeah, so you don't make your fancy houses here.
The storage.
You don't build your chandeliers.
All the machines that you need. Now my brain just stopped working.
Fabricators.
Fabricators. Thank you.
Yeah. And we made a change, or not a change. It's just the building costs are different in the deep desert,
Oh.
so it costs half as much to build
Yes.
everywhere.
It's
Building
cheaper.
is 100%
Yep.
when you're breaking things down.
You-
Just because we know you're going to be redoing this every week.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
going to be some loss, right? So we're trying to make it easy and accessible in the ways that we can, while still keeping the threat there.
Yes.
And the intensity, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's
Makes
it, right?
sense.
Like the deep desert is a little bit about that tension as well, that feeling of like, so we're
Exactly.
building here, it's the PvE area. I expect people to build their primary like weekly base in the PvE area and then maybe set out some logistics bases so that they can do things like refining spice. And that's where it becomes an interesting kind of like, we'll see how people play out these scenarios in the actual deep desert in the game, but this is kind of the expected behavior. This is what we hope people will do. And we've tried to build all the mechanics into place so that people can do this, right? And that's been a large part of it.
You also see co-building here. There's actually several
Yeah.
people working.
Yeah,
on this.
everyone's working together, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
super
yeah,
nice.
that's the
multiple
guild
people.
focus as well. Like it
Exactly.
is a multiplayer game. It's really important to make sure that people can play together and do things together. And I think it like the fun part in this game and this style of game is that it extends beyond like the traditional MMO experience of like we can fight things together, right? And we can role play together, but you're not building things together.
Yeah.
You're not crafting
Now
vehicles
it's more,
together, right?
let's
We
survive
have those
together.
options, which is
Exactly.
nice.
And it's
So it's
just
a bit
cool to see
different.
how quick you can use the blueprint system to get like a gigantic base.
Or Zorg,
Even
thank
though
you for the
it's
30-month
utilitarian,
resub.
right? But
Thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
It does what it needs, and it's quite impressive.
I know that people are also wondering that you won't be able to, copy that your setup inside. So this is literally the blueprint is for the building itself. So everything inside.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You still have to put the placeables in.
So we're behind the shield wall. I think we've just left the base now,
Yeah, we're actually
and we're
just showing a little bit of the
Yeah.
PvE
Behind
area
the
here
shield
so
as
this is
well.
this is behind the shield wall, and then you come out into the deep desert, and this is like I think. Oh yeah, sorry. Behind the shield wall, there's also PVE elements here. This is the PVE space.
Yeah.
So there are things like shipwrecks that you can raid. There are like eco labs
For
behind
those who
here.
can't
So there is
do
a section of
PvP,
the deep
then
desert.
this is an
I know
option.
people are really worried about
Or don't
doing
want
PvP.
to do PvP.
There's a whole section here. It's 24 kilometers
Good
long,
to know.
where you can actually go and like do the PvE part. And we're about to see. Well, this will take a few seconds.
We're actually
survey.
We're in the middle of
just
the survey.
surveying the-
So now we're surveying the land in this section, and we'll see the segment reveal itself. And this is like one of the PvE segments of the deep desert. And what you'll see here is that we've surveyed 1 square. And just to give some context, that's one of 81 squares within this map. So there are 81 of these squares. It's huge.
Oh.
We're actually also seeing the sync chart that you mentioned earlier
Yes.
as well
Yes.
come into
So,
play.
so now I don't know whose name it is, but whichever player it is crafting a. They have surveyed.
Camille is
Now they're going
crafting
to
a
craft
survey,
a
yeah.
sync chart.
The sync
They have crafted a sync chart of the deep desert. It
A
tells you
sync
in the
chart.
information which sector of the deep desert, who created it, how long ago it was created, so you understand whether the information's out of date or in date.
Okay.
They're going to share that sync chart with their friends.
Yep.
And then their friends hopefully will be able to switch camera perspective and see their friend apply the sync chart,
That is
which
the
saves
plan.
them having to
Yes.
explore.
Yeah,
So this is that
Exactly.
cartography loop.
You could go out with like a
Oh.
really quick ornithopter.
Look at this. That's the deep desert over there.
Oh, sure, sure.
Oh.
But you can go out with like an exploration kit, right? That's
Yeah.
really fast. That
Yes.
You can go around. You don't have much harvesting abilities, right? And then
Yeah.
you scout the area, bring it back, and then your base can roll out with your transport ornithopters, your harvesters,
Exactly.
sand crawlers.
Depending what your plan is for the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what
Which
people-
doesn't
people
necessarily
need.
have to be PvP. There's actually a lot of other things,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
might bring you to
I
the
expect
deep
people
desert.
to, in guilds, to be figuring things out and how they're going to work together to do these things.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's
where the
roles here,
guilds
right?
really
Like,
matter.
Again, we tried to really build
Having
this game with
PvP
different roles
teams.
for different people within guilds.
Exactly.
So the idea is,
Knowing
oh,
where the
maybe
mats are
I'm just
before
a scout, and
is
that's what I do
huge.
because
I think in the deep desert
going
they're
into fights, but
randomized, and every
I
week
go out,
when it gets
I
reset,
bring back the
the
information.
location for things
then
also
people
change.
who like building bases
But
are
in the
planning,
starter
like,
zones,
what
they're
our
probably the
logistics are
same,
going to
yeah.
be and what
So
we're
you
going
can
to be
probably
doing this
learn
week
a
in
good,
the
like,
deep desert.
decent route
What do we
to
need to
get the
harvest? What
first
do we need for our
materials.
crafting?
Mm-hmm.
Are there
Yeah.
uniques that we're looking for? Are there specific uniques? I think one of the really
You have to
important
map them out again each week.
points about
Yeah.
the deep desert.
So I guess
is
on
that,
like Wednesday and
the-
Thursdays, like
the
mapping
unique
out today.
schematics, the imperial permits, which maybe people saw, the purple ones. They're on a limited loot setup, so you don't get the same ones every week.
I have
and the
something stuck in my
layouts of the
tooth.
deep
I'll be
desert
right back.
change. Here we see the trading
keep
system.
listening.
The sync chart's been traded.
And those schematics you can only make a certain amount of times.
Yeah, and now we're going to consume the sync chart, and then we're going to open our map and see that the sector has been cleared, the same sector that was sync charted. So this is kind of cool. You can create copies of this and pass it off to your guild. You can create copies and sell them on the exchange to other players as well.
Yes, and while now they're
Now
actually
the
building a
transport
transport
ornithopter,
ornithopter, we can actually quickly talk about the Coriolis Storm in combination with the map, because we actually have a visual asset here
Yeah.
that shows how they can look like on
Yeah,
the
so
map.
we can talk about the rotation. So this is
Yes.
like, so let's see that we're going to see 3 weeks of Coriolis Storm changes to the map. So this is week 1, and then we move to, and you can see that there's like 1 eco lab, a shipwreck, and a cave there, right, and a small base, and some spice blowers that have been marked. And then to the next week, the layout has changed. Where
Same
things are
tile.
is different. There's a control point now in the bottom left. There's an eco lab in a different place, and a shipwreck that's been uncovered.
And there will be different loot and different
Different
schematics
loot
that you
in all
get.
of them. And then we go 1 more week again. And now you can see that this is a bit larger. There's another control point. It's a different house control point now. Different spaces on the map. A couple of
Back.
eco labs this time. 4 or 5 caves. And
Oh, they
the
actually
shipwreck.
showcase the map
So
changing.
you can sort of see how this changes and how this loot encourages exploration
Yeah.
for people each week.
And that's one tile.
That's one section.
I heard that. I was like,
Wow.
wait, I need to see this.
One of 81.
Yeah.
But I will
There
say
we go.
this: it's a very big desert with a lot of space. So there's not all the tiles are that populated each week. So people aren't like, oh, there's not 15 eco labs in every square, right?
No.
Like
Yes.
it's a
more
big
sparse.
barren place. And this is also like important because if
What
we
is
want
this
people to fight
vehicle?
over things, we actually need to draw them to the same places to fight
Yes.
over specific things.
Oh
in
my
PvP.
god, it's massive.
So for
Alright.
the ones who actually do want the PvP, they have a place to go where they know there's probably other players there as well.
Okay, so now we have a transport ornithopter. This is the largest
Oh my
flying
god,
vehicle
it's
that you can craft in the
huge.
game. And this may be my favorite game mechanic because the transport
I agree.
ornithopter can pick things up. And I love it because it can pick up almost anything that is a vehicle,
Yes.
right, in the game. So
One of the things you'll see in the
Wait,
mid-game
it can pick
is
up
like
a
the buggy
vehicle?
is really hard to get to places, right? Even though it mines so
Yes.
much more than you can ever possibly mine yourself. But it's a pain, right, to get up on the shield wall or to get it out here.
So a good tactic with the buggy though is to use it as storage and use the transport
Yes,
ornithopter to pick
yeah.
it up and carry it. Are we going to show an example of carrying? I guess we are.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are,
cool.
because what
Yes.
we're actually preparing for here is a spice harvesting mission.
Ah, so the team's going out to do some
yes.
spice harvesting. Cool.
So we are actually gonna
Okay.
pick up a
Yeah.
harvester.
So now we're coming out into what I call the real deep desert, right? This is actually what you think of when you think of Arrakis from the movies, right? So this is so yeah, we just got the nice tutorial pop up talking about the deep desert.
Yes.
Vast
this is
region
the
that changes
Arrakis
weekly
that
from
we
being
know from the
ravaged by
films.
frequent
So
Coriolis
Haga
storms.
Basin is like and it's taking a lot of the information that we have from the books and about like the different biomes and things and making it into a truly sort of interesting PvE experience. But this is the true deep desert of Arrakis. This is the place where people are scared to go. This is where the Fremen live. We're passing outside the shield wall now. This is where the War of Assassins and the PvP is allowed to have spice blow.
PvP.
And you can see a spice blow in the distance, which draws people from miles around to go there, right? And I do want to say, this section here, if you turn the camera right and left, you can see that we have the shield wall. This is 24 kilometers long. And you can't see people all the way along. So people who are like nervous about going into the deep desert because they're worried about, the PvP is, I think there's like an element from my end, a designed moment that we've talked about on this project quite often is like, you come to the edge of this vast ocean and you dip your toe in the water and you're a little bit scared of sharks, but you see something in the distance and you think, I can make it. I can get there and I can get back. And the first time it's scary. And you feel that tension, and the second time, and the third time, but you feel that tension, but you actually start doing it, right? And I get that people worry about toxic behaviors and ganking and so forth, but we tried to build a space where you can get away from people as well.
Correct, yeah. So I think that's really important to
Oh,
talk about
cool. Taking over
is
this
in Dune,
area.
you were given the tools to get away, right? Like if overwhelming amounts of people come after you, maybe you
House
can't quite get
Hagal.
away, but that's generally not going to happen. So a lot of it is more about, PvP is about controlling a point and like having to give up that point if you don't feel
Yes.
like fighting.
Fighting over things
Fighting
instead of kicking
over-
down
yes,
sandcastles.
exactly.
So on the Landsrad here, this is kind of interesting, right? So you can see the Landsrad's in the state of like, if we claim this as the Atreides, we're going to win what we call a Sisselrad. And a Sisselrad means that we're going to get the voting power for the week. So a Sisselrad is when we can complete a row. So normally, if you were Harkonnen and Atreides in this situation, you'd both be fighting over this particular control point.
Wait, because they
you
made
really
a
don't want the other one to
column?
win for the week.
Is that
But
why?
normally, like it's as well, it's kind
like
of
playing
you're always
bingo?
blocking each other and causing like the other team to have to,
Yeah.
go back and
They
focus
both
on
need the same
filling
one.
out a row or trying to fill out as many squares as possible. So we're trying to take the
House Hagel?
House Hagel owns this control point in the deep desert. We're in the deep desert as Atreides taking over this control point on their behalf, and you can see it's just this control point. It's a place that you have to defend in the deep desert. It'll draw other people, and it will earn you points over time. It's a classic control point in the deep desert. One other thing, just if you stop for a second here, one other thing I just wanted to point out, one of the feedbacks we had in beta was about team markers. And you can see our new team marker
Oh,
system
yes.
in the game here.
Yes.
It's deliberately only for the 4-person groups. I will not allow this to be in the game for guilds because I want, like, especially I know people talk about Zergs. I think when Zerg guilds and there's 40 people attacking each other on the screen, if everybody can see who's in their guild, it's very easy to target the people that you're trying to Zerg. But if it's just the
They
group,
want it to be
then it's
hard
much
to
more
tell.
difficult for Zergs to actually not do friendly fire.
Yeah.
And there is full friendly fire on guilds.
I mean, they
Oh
can
my
do it if they work for
God.
it, right? They can make sure
Yeah,
everyone
they-
has the same
They
swatches
want it to
and
be
the same
difficult to
numbers. So
tell.
there's ways to
Somebody
do
could
it, but
figure out
they
what
So
have
you
to
could
work
wear
dress like and
certain gear
infiltrate.
to
Exactly.
try to stand
yeah,
out, I guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
So you
We
can be
did wanna
recognized
take
by
no
your
away-
guild.
artificial.
Yeah, it's been one of my. Let's say I will say this is one of those things where I have had to fight with a lot of developers on this project about this. There's a crashed ship down there, by the way. It's kind of cool that you could also go loot that. But like, it's like giving too much information for free to players actually limits our ability for people to have politics and intrigue.
Yeah.
Because if I can see your name over your head, I know who you are, right? But if I don't know who that is, and you dress in my clothing and you walk into my base and you follow me around, it's like I might just think that you're my friend from the guild.
Oh my
when in fact
god.
you're just like, you know, trying to infiltrate. And we want to allow that possibility because that is Dune. At its core, that is how things work. There are plans within plans, there are groups within groups.
I remember that from early
Oh,
on,
wow.
where your kind of law was information has to be
Oh
earned.
yeah, for sure.
That was a very early thing.
Can I just point out that we just
Very
crossed
cool.
a server border?
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
our game has server meshing tech in the deep desert, and it's been a very painful technical thing to get working.
Yes.
But we just crossed a server border. You probably might not have even noticed any sort of hitching or anything because it's very seamless. And again, shout out to our technical team who've been
Yes,
working their
yeah.
butts off to get this in good shape. But we just crossed a server border from one server to another, and it's basically not visible, which is great.
Yeah, what we call like.
Wait, why did we go into new
Authority
server?
transfer between servers, yeah. So now we're picking up a random sandcrawler
Oh my god.
and bringing it out to the spice harvesting field. So, I mean, I love that. I love that mechanic. I think it's fantastic fun in the game, just picking things up.
The transport ornithopter is quite slow,
Yeah, it's very slow.
so it is dangerous to go out just in the transport ornithopter.
And you
Remember,
can of course
clothes
sit
aren't all
in
clothes
the
look the same. If you
Yeah,
really are
so
supposed to be
yeah,
able to
yeah,
use
yeah,
who
yeah.
wear clothes, there
You
needs
You
to
can
be
also,
so
I
many
think the
options.
transport has like 5
There,
seats as
there
well,
are
so there's-
different
yeah.
kind
You can
of
bring a whole little group with you.
clothes here and there.
Kidnap other enemy harvesters as well.
I
which is
guess
also
you
super
can
fun to
like
do.
purposely
Although we
wear
should
like
talk about
maybe
spice, 'cause
Yes.
that's
low-level
really
boots on
ties
purpose.
the entire end game together.
and it's like a
right?
secret.
All the
So
tier,
the other people don't know
the-
that you wear low
tier
level
6
boots,
or the
for
last,
example.
like,
And
set of
maybe you can
resources,
like
right?
change
Everything requires
what your
spice
special
to
thing
craft it.
is
So your in-game
every,
gear,
I don't know, a few
your
days or
in-game
something.
tools.
Maybe like
Yeah.
today when we
In-game
go out,
vehicles.
guys, everyone wear a fake
everything in game
headpiece, like a bad headpiece, so we can
And
recognize
also,
you.
we mentioned the Landsrad. The Landsrad has always the center square of
Yeah,
the
I don't know
Landsrad
if they have
requires spice
customizable
to
apparel.
win. It's important.
It seems
the
like they
Sandcrawler
probably don't.
Is like, it's not the full harvesters
If they
that
want
you've
it
seen
to
in the
be
films.
hard for
Those
people
are
to,
owned
like,
by
stick
the
out
big
easily.
houses. But as you can see here,
Yeah.
this is like a little like raid event. We just placed a thumper on the sand. We have a guy on a bike. He's
Exactly.
riding around dropping
They have
thumpers.
each
You should
square
also
on
hear
different
it actually on
servers.
screen now. You hear
Yeah.
The thumpers
And then they've
are
meshed
really
it
important
together,
because
yeah.
sandworms roam the deep desert. They will be coming, and you need to be placing out thumpers to distract them away from that sandcrawler while it's harvesting spice. And you want to keep it on the spice as long as possible, just like in the book.
Yeah.
You want to stay on the spice, earn as much profit as you possibly can. You can even see the trail that the sandcrawler is leaving in the spice as it sucks up spice into its little vacuum pack.
Yeah, so the sandworm stops being, it not stops, but it's less of a threat as you're going throughout Hoggy Basin into
Yes.
the mid game. But then at the end game, right, there's sandworms all over the place, and it becomes a threat again, especially when you're trying to get spice from the sands.
So yeah, so you saw the sandworm just took that thumper. Hopefully our intrepid thumper places have put out more of them.
They're
Yeah.
totally well organized. They have like several people placing out thumpers.
Yeah.
They have like the scouts here in the air that we see as well, which is really cool to see.
Looking for worms.
Plus our transport to be ready for any kind
Yeah,
of danger that
and-
might occur.
And so as soon as the sandcrawler, like the person driving the sandcrawler knows that they're the target of the sandworm, they need to radio in and be like, get me off the sand, so that the transport ornithopter will pick them up. But at the moment, I think we're using the thumpers effectively as a team. And this is a part of it, right? Like this is why the deep desert is very Dune. I don't think you have this experience in any other game. And the idea was to create this. So if you are here with your guild, there's something to do and it's fun and it's interesting. But then other players might show up as well. And that's
Yep.
where it becomes another step, right?
So you're saying it's not just reskin colonies?
Eve a
Is
bit?
that what you're saying, Joel?
I do
We could
think
talk
a lot
about
of the
what the world
politics of
means.
Eve can
We
happen
can talk
here.
about like, you know,
It is
some of
not
the best
as,
games in the world, the reskins of other games.
much
so-
of a
you
numbers
see
game.
here though that there is a
think
lot
it's
of
more
sandworms
active than
that
Eve
are
was.
popping up
Yeah.
here constantly,
action.
which is both fantasy but also
But yeah,
terrifying.
I think the
There's a
politics
limit
can
to how much
probably
they-
be compared to
will
Eve.
eat thumpers, right?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
do eventually get
From
involved.
what I've
Eventually
seen
There's
they
like,
have enough.
I'm not that dumb,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
They'll eat thumpers for a while.
I see what you're doing here.
They
so,
have a diverse palette.
I think New World is another, I think,
But yeah, this is like
game that might be
You
even
also
better
see
to
nice little
compare.
scouts around to
Yeah.
see like also potentially looking out for sandstorms
Yeah,
coming in. Of
sandstorms,
course,
yes.
Yeah.
they're kind of
Worm sign.
devastating in this particular worm signs. Enemies coming in as well.
Enemies coming in.
potentially.
Yeah,
Yes,
So yeah, it's this is kind of the experience of like harvesting spice in the deep desert from a large spice blow. And there are smaller spice blows like that you can come to with a smaller guild.
We also have them in Haga Basin, of course.
Yes.
just way
There's-
smaller.
I
there's
wonder
just a
if
couple
if
ones
the
in
worm
Haga,
can
yeah,
just
it's
like
very
come
limited
out and eat
because we wanted
those
spice to
vehicles
be
in the
a
air.
rare resource that you need to go out here into the deep desert to
And,
get.
and talking about like concentration of people, like the spice blow you can see from really far away,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
20 plus kilometers
Yes.
away. So
You know
do
that
need
less
to bring
resource
some
competition
friends to be
nature though.
looking
You
out
had
for
the
other
zones,
people
but
coming in.
actual
Yep.
resources to fight
There's
over.
another thumper down
No,
there.
it was mostly
So,
the
I know
economy.
we've seen some comments from people that are like, well,
Like
you
taxing
have to
system
go
and,
into the
like,
deep desert to get like the
owning the
highest
auction
type of
house and stuff
gear
like that,
such.
right? I think.
What
That
do
is
we?
not true. We have the exchange.
Because
we
resources
showed
were
that
pretty
before, right?
readily
So
available.
You can be somebody that is making something that
Yeah, owning the
person on the
towns.
exchange would want, right? That goes into the deep desert to get spice or to get like some schematics. They
I
can
really
go
hope it's not going to be a
our
mess with
team or
100
Hargo Village,
ornithopters just
post
flying
that,
around.
and then you can
I think there's a
trade from the
fix to that
exchange.
because then you just
Or you
use the
can meet up in
big,
person
what was
and
that? Some
trade.
kind of like rocket launcher
we can
weapon,
get the
and you
Crow.
just shoot them.
There might
So
have
I think
been
you probably
some-
don't want your
we can't
ornithopters
hear it
out
though, but
here
there
because
might have been some rumblings and some indication that
I think it's a big loss to lose them.
We
I think it's going
I
to be
think
like a
that they-
risk
they
reward
got
system
one
like
side
that,
and
where
then
you
you
kind
get-
of don't want to use all your big vehicles, especially if they take a long
we do
time
have
to
a known
build.
bug in the game where the spice color disappears from the sand.
It's still there. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's happening. Oh,
There he is.
that's why they
And there's the
we can
grandfather
actually
one.
hear that. Yeah.
Oh.
that's Shia.
It was great seeing the little.
Oh
sandworm.
my
The
god,
little
it's
tiny
so
ones.
massive
You can see
compared
it's
to the
scary.
other one. Did you see the
Like,
size difference?
Getting into the action there.
This is the ring
Oh
mouth.
my
That's the ring mouth,
god.
yeah.
And that's gonna swallow everything
That
that's
one's
in the
big, yeah,
middle.
yeah.
They're like just everything there is lost.
It
and it's
takes
just
a
like
lot. But these guys managed to succeed and they can take their haul out of the deep desert today with them.
very well prepared.
Yeah.
They were well prepared.
Very well prepared. So as our crew here is now going back to actually maybe we can explore a little bit because we do actually have Imperial testing stations here as well, and I think we're actually somewhat close to one if I remember correctly. So we can maybe show that from above as well. Again, to just bring it in that there is a lot of content in the deep desert that is not just like flat out PvP, right? So we really
Yeah.
want to
Correct. And this is our high-end PvE encounters happen in the deep desert. So the eco labs or ecological testing stations,
Yeah. Oh,
they're
yeah.
actually tuned
Apologies.
for 4 players. Yeah.
Wait, so the high level
So it's
PvE is in the same area
main
as the
PvE
PvP.
challenge would be out here where you're going to get those unique schematics. that we were
Shy
talking about
Huludia.
earlier. But you need to scout, you need to find them, and then you need to perhaps fight over them.
And work as a team. I think these are tuned towards minimum 4 people.
Yeah.
Right, so-
We actually showed one.
Okay, so you wanna be at
in
least
our
4 people
combat
for these.
stream,
Yeah, the second part,
2 streams
yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. They're like kind of wave-based, kind of very different.
Why
approach
wouldn't they
than
just have
the,
PvP servers like
Imperial
WoW
testing
does?
stations that we have in
I think they
Haga
don't
Basin.
want
They're
to.
different
they're-
every week.
In
Yes.
WoW, the main
Call these stations.
part, the main
you know,
pillar of
like,
the game
as
is
the game continues, as we go
raids.
through live and we continue to
and I think
update
in
and
this
expand,
game, the
there'll be
main pillar
more
of the game is
things that show up on the map, for example, from
resources that you get from
things like
outside
that
the world.
that people would expect
So
to
then it-
explore. So things will be
Exactly.
uncovered.
They want
And
the PvP
as I
to
mentioned, like the
be
layouts for the deep desert, they're handcrafted.
a big part of that
We have
obstacle.
a cool system where we
More
like,
built
build
into the
layouts by
main
hand
pillar of the game.
and generate the spaces between them with the sand. So it's kind of like
So
we
that's
fill
why.
in the gaps with the sand.
But they
Um,
do have
but like we have
some PvE
we are
things that you can
building
do as well
new
in these
layouts for
PvP
this all the
zones.
time, right?
And
then
if
over
you
time
really
we'll
don't want to,
incorporate
you can
more and more
avoid
elements.
being
so there'll be always
in the
something to
PvP
do. That's
area. It just means that
the
you
pillar
probably
of the
won't
game,
get
infinite
a lot of the
exploration,
endgame
right?
stuff.
And that's one of the goals is to create a space that's always
They also said you want to
explorable.
bring
And
private servers later.
Something else I'd like to say
So
that I
then
think
you can
is,
decide
like,
how to play
important is
and with who to
we
play.
will add, like we have the DLCs and things coming for the game.
How the PvP
we'll
based
be
MMOs
adding
is a bit niche.
things
To
in
see
the
how it will work
DLCs,
out. Yeah,
but
and
the deep desert will
based on
always
how he
remain
sounded as
something
well, I
that we
think they're
consider to be
aware
at
of
the
that.
zenith
So I
of the
think
power
they
curve
want
in
to
the game,
make
so we'll
it
keep adding to the
relatively
deep desert. So let's say
friendly
that
to
we
play, even
have
if you
tier
don't like
5
PvP.
items in the game and we go
It
to tier
sounds like.
7, then the deep desert will start
Where's
to
my
have
mouse?
tier 7 equipment and items and things in it as well. We will always try to
There we
keep
go.
it on par with anything else we add in terms of power, because the deep desert really is that continually explorable
The
space.
central point
Yeah.
that keeps all of the things
Yeah,
together.
we'll continue to
Yeah,
add like
it's-
stuff, and
they-
then we'll
they
be,
have
like, in
definitely been
DLCs, there'll be
thinking
places
about
where
it.
people can get access to gear that is currently in
And
the deep
he's
desert.
also talking about how like this is
When
going
we
to
do
be a
that,
live
we'll also
game,
increase the
like a
deep
live
desert
service
so that there's
game.
more things.
So
that's kind of
they
the long-term goal
gonna
is
probably
to
keep
continue updating the game
monitoring
and
to
continue
see
adding this stuff.
if things are good or not
to
good.
also intro players about
Maybe
that.
they
So while we actually
end up
have
adding more
our
PvE
team, or
sources
actually,
for things, for
the
example.
spice harvesters go back to on the
I don't
way
think
to
they
the
want to remove the
quartermaster
PvP
to
aspect, but
deploy, or
maybe they'll
like to
add a bit
kinda,
more PvE.
Spice. Yeah.
give them the spice, basically. Yeah, give them the spice for the launch rod thing.
Refine.
We do have an additional asset. We have actually a video from a stress test that we did with the beta last
dear.
week on Friday, where we see a lot of
Yeah.
things happening.
Shout out to the beta players.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, beta players. Fantastic work on that side as well. So here, that's actually a glimpse at the stress test that we did. That's also deep desert. Lots of people together in the deep desert, lots of ornithopters, and it's just really
All
cool
in
to
line
have like
to
that.
get their ornithopters.
to like
Yeah, we were
see
spawning.
that as well.
They were spawning thopters like crazy. Someone's flamethrowing, throwing bombs. Players never behave when you put them in the same space.
No, that's actually Camille with the flamethrower.
Players will
Like
always
nothing
try to
anymore.
break
Nothing,
everything.
nothing.
The context
like
of this
an
stress
old-
test,
yeah.
by the way, was like we were testing people crossing the server boundaries with our mesh servers
I
and
love that
fighting
little
on them.
ornithopter back
Yeah.
there. Sorry, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just sorry, go ahead.
And fighting along the server boundaries just to see how the performance was. So you'll see people firing rockets, and yeah, it was a cool test. I think we got a lot of very useful data out of this.
Yep.
And seeing how people were fighting together.
Also, shout out to our automation team because they every build, right? We have the deep desert, and they have basically they deploy our automation system called Legion, and it goes and it tests all of these things, right? So it's got hundreds of ornithopters going back and forth between all the
all the server
zone
boundaries. Yep, there's a lot of testing that goes into a project like this. It's
Yes,
insane.
yes,
And the more sandboxy you get, the more things can break, and that's kind of what
Obviously,
makes it
the more
interesting.
freedom we also give to players,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
more
Yeah,
things
yeah,
can
sure.
break.
Exactly.
And like, I think I said that to you earlier as well. That like, story-driven games that are linear and you follow one story are one thing. We do have that aspect in the game as well, but
With the main
I think
campaign
what
quest,
we
I
at
assume.
Funcom really love to do is we love to create worlds where players can write their own stories and can tell their own stories, right? I think that's such a different approach to
By siding with
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
factions, as an
One
example.
of the ways we describe Arrakis is a crisis generator,
Yeah.
right? So
One of
it
the four.
is
Yep.
spawning stories, and that's why like these tense locations. Like
I don't know
the
if
deep
to remove
desert
the
are
PvP
really
from the
important
spice harvesting
because
aspect.
It does spawn these memorable moments that you remember.
In Deep
that
Desert.
you
Yeah, I don't
experience
think
with
they
your
want to
friends
remove
or your
anything
guild.
PvP either. I think they
You make
want to
friends,
send
you
this
make
as a
enemies.
PvP
And
focused
that's
game.
really important. To, like, fully
So it's meant to be a
experience
big part
the,
of the game.
The politics
But I
and
can see them
intrigue of
potentially
Dune.
adding a few
Yeah.
more
100%.
The power
PvE
of
things on the
multiplayer,
sides.
right?
Yes, like I remember,
which
like,
can be
we had
useful
a
for the
lot of really
PvPers
cool,
too,
before we go back to
because
actually delivering
maybe
the spice,
your whole
we
guild
had
isn't
a
always around,
very,
for example.
actually
So maybe
a lot
like
of really cool moments from streamers
potentially
and players,
more
YouTube,
things needed
content
on
creators,
sides.
about the beta weekend or from the beta weekend. And I remember one moment, I call it the GTA moment, where one of the streamers, I think he was harvesting
one.
something or something.
Yeah.
Or no, he was downed.
He was downed by an enemy.
He was
Yeah,
downed but
yeah,
not out.
yeah.
And then the
Yes,
other one
yeah.
comes in and just drives over the enemy that was like targeting him,
Yes.
and he couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
It's like these little moments that make, that create those stories that are so fun to share as well and are unique to you then. And it's like, and that is, I think, where for me, that satisfaction of really creating those worlds comes.
Yeah, and I think is one of the things like we get a bit of
The DD is so big and lots of. What is DD? Deep Desert is so big and lots of PvE
being able to
spots of it,
stand
so I
on
don't
top
think
of
it's
an
going to be as big
ornithopter
of an
is
issue as
janky.
people think.
It is.
It sounded
but
like
when they
that's
asked
what
me
he
if we
was
could
trying to say
remove
as
that,
well.
I said no.
That there's lots,
Surfing on an
lots to
ornithopter
do
is
in
actually-
PvE as
Oh,
well.
why isn't that
And
cool?
he compared
why
it
isn't
to
that
like
something we
dipping your
want?
feet
So,
in
like,
the ocean.
sometimes, yeah,
And every time you
make those
become more
choices as
daring
well.
because you
Like,
realize
it's
like,
yeah,
wait,
this might
I can
look a
actually
little
do
weird
this
sometimes,
without getting
but
caught
you know
in
what?
PvP.
It's way more fun when you can do it.
So I think
Yeah.
it's
It's way more
intentionally
fun when
like
you can do
that.
it.
The meta on beta might have been, surfing on ornithopters, shooting people with assault
A
rifles.
little bit of that might be
Yeah.
fixed now. We fixed some of the assault rifle issues.
All right, so let's go back into
Hi, Luna.
delivering the spice now.
Come here.
Oh, actually, no. Let's talk a little more. I actually wanted to ask you both a question. You actually have answered that recently in an interview, but that's not the reason I'm asking because I plan to do it anyway. It's like, what is each of you's favorite thing in the game? I mean, you mentioned a few things that we saw, like the transport ornithopter and stuff, but I'm pretty sure there's other things that you're particularly proud of.
So, survival games for me, one of the best things they do is they make the world more
When you go to
interactive
Deep Desert,
than
do you
other
only meet
genres,
the
right?
40
So I
people who
think
are on your
the team has
server?
done a great job
basically?
of like using the harvesting system.
Are you sharing with 40
Not only
people?
does the cut array,
Or
like,
do you meet
cut up the
other
resources
servers
and
on
get it,
there?
but you come across these like wrecked ornithopters, and every time I come across one and I'm cutting off the wings and getting the resources
It's the whole
from
world.
it,
Okay.
it just feels great, right? Because it makes the game
Hundreds, yeah.
grounded. So I would say that whole entire system there is really unique with what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's
Because I know you can
I think I'm thinking about the one that I mentioned in the interview as well, probably. But
invite
like the Dew
people to
Reaper,
your party who's outside your server.
the way that you, because I like.
No.
Look, I made Conan this. We made Conan, and Conan's a bit more
Disconnecting the
stock standard in
keyboard 'cause she's
survival
pressing
sense, right?
stuff.
You're chopping down trees and you're harvesting rocks. And when it came to Dune, we had the design principle of like make your designs fit Dune, do not make Dune fit your designs. And it was like, what is
Exactly what I
harvesting
said.
water look like in Dune? And there's a line in the book where Duke Leto is looking out a window and the sun's rising, and there's all these people out in the fields harvesting dew off the flowers, and you're like, that's how precious water is on this planet, and that's a moment that our game needs to have. And so it isn't just like the confluence. It's like yeah, it's cool, this action of like sweeping the dew off the top of plants using this little Holtzman field that drains the water up into, and like not only did the animation team and the effects team nail that, and the audio team got all of that works, but it's also like the back end,
Are you
the
looking
time of
forward to
day,
playing
checking
Dune?
when the dew harvest time is optimal, feeling like, and it's so satisfying to be out there like 10
World
minutes before
equals
the sun
server,
comes up,
siege equals
and
shard.
you're filling
Okay.
just liter johns full of water because you understood the game system, you
So
understood the timing.
You see everyone in
All
your
of those
world,
things
like
come
all the
together
different
to
sieges
create an
of your world.
experience that
when you go deep desert.
I think for me it's just like you can't have this experience in any game except Dune. And to me that's the most precious thing, right? Like I feel like it's so good when all those things come together. Like as a developer, that's just the most rewarding
Cat
stuff,
hair.
right? And it feels good. And it doesn't.
Somewhere.
I don't really care if anyone else likes it because I love it so much. No, because I think it really nails it, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't speak
The
more highly
preciousness
of
of
how
water
cool
in
that
Dune.
works, right?
Totally
And
get it,
shout out to the
yes.
team who worked on it and everybody who did their part.
100%. No,
Because
I get
ready.
that.
Because games are made by teams, right?
To
That's the
refine
other thing.
spice.
Yes, absolutely.
I
So
actually really
we
like that
actually
he's
made
so
it now
passionate
to
about
the
it. He's
quartermaster
referenced the
and
book
we
multiple
are-
times, just this
So we're gonna deliver
interview or this
Spice.
dev talk.
Yes.
Try to win
You
the
can tell
Lancer.
you really
Okay, so
is
These
into
guys-
To get back.
these guys
The games universe.
ask you, so you, because you're sort of you're a minor house or a minor house under the umbrella of the Atreides, you deliver Landsrad bribes to the quartermasters of the Atreides, and they make sure they get where they're supposed to go. So now we're delivering for House Alexan, we're delivering spice, and the House Alexan are a part of the manufacturing.
Nice
unit, which
emote.
is where they-
Oh, he was one
and
who
so
made
we're
sure you lose
delivering
everything on
500 spice
Wormdats.
melange,
I
and then
think
they're
that's
gonna make sure
good.
that it reaches them, and then that
As
will,
harsh as it
in a
feels, I
moment,
think
change
that's
the
a good
Landsrad.
thing.
So you can see how you have an impact now. So Landsrad is there under the social tab. This board refreshes every so often. So it's been a few seconds since the last refresh. Now we should be able to see our borders refresh with a certain amount of spice. Oh, we didn't go to Alexan. You're on the wrong one. You need to go to Alexan. It's in the middle.
The middle.
Yes, and then we can see that we've delivered some spice and the goal amount has gone up. So that you can see that we've increased our goal amount with House Alexa there.
So we've worked towards
Yes.
gaining
So we haven't
favor.
worked like once we
64,000 more to
once
go.
we hit
Yeah.
70,000 points, and we can do any of these activities to earn points. Like the control point, we can
claim those.
yeah, we can
those
deliver
fields.
spice melange. But once we've done enough to earn that center square, then it'll flip to be Atreides and say that we've claimed it for the week.
Exactly.
Got
So
it.
that's-
Great.
Nice.
So that was a little bit of a glimpse of what mid and end game can look like. Obviously, that totally depends on what you like to play and how you like to play. There's quite a lot of options. We showed you a few of them, an approach of what can be done.
We're also jamming like dozens of hours of gameplay into like a very quick
Yes,
presentation.
100%. Like this is very like preparation is everything, which is of course true for the game specifically as well. But before we dive into the Q&A, we are gonna take a quick look at the Mentat.
Oh. Captured in game. Captured in engine. Never mind.
You're not quite dead.
Great plot.
The School of the Mentat.
Developed out of the need to replace thinking machines, the Mentats, trained on the principles of philosopher Gilbertus Albans, became one of the most important people in the Imperium. Able to calculate immense amounts of data and devise complex strategies, they are the most advanced tacticians on the battlefield. Combined with advanced assassination and combat technology, you will be able to think many steps ahead of your enemies. With a significantly higher cognition, as a
I
mentor,
think she's really enjoying
you
this.
can calculate trajectories and weapon handling to find weak points in an opponent's defense, or even guide the calculations of an external sentinel turret to assist you with extra firepower. Focusing on strategic control over raw strength, a Mentat is an expert in assassination technology, using poison capsules to trap enemies in a cloud of death, or when out of sight, send in a hunter-seeker before the enemy has even noticed your presence. For a tactical advantage, the Mentats have devised further development of Imperial technology, such as the
Excuse
shield
me.
wall for extra protection, and to fool simple-minded enemies, a projection of
Oh, a
yourself
decoy.
will confuse and scatter their focus.
Cool.
Throughout the dunes of Arrakis, any school can be trained and improved by masters, increasing your mental capacity and further advancing your tactical technology will let you hold the strategic advantage in any situation. But to reach the highest tactical operation, adopting other schools of thought will increase your mental complexity, opening up further possibilities. Focus your mind and calculate each step forward to find the optimal probability for your survival on Arrakis.
Your survival. June 10th. Guys, we have a panel picture below the stream. You can click that to read more about it and get ready for it. Maybe wishlist it, maybe pre-order already.
All right, and we
Panel
are
is below the
back
stream.
for our Q&A. So our wizards behind the screens and behind the cameras are gonna throw up questions that have been collected. They're ready now. I was just being told, fantastic.
Did I dye my hair again?
Before
I
anybody
did.
asks any questions, though,
2
I
days
just
ago.
want to
2 or 3
make
days
a
ago.
reveal of my own.
Nice.
Special toe shoes today
I
for
redyed my
everybody.
hair.
They look really cool
Wanted
though.
it
They
fresh
are.
for Twitch.
But it also looks a bit like Hobbit feet, to be fair. Like at least close up, Chad. So it's good you have a little bit of a. It's good you don't have
Not
close
for all
ups.
the money in the world.
From what I understand, they're very healthy though. They're way better for you than actual normal shoes. So
Yep.
That's what they say.
that's what they say.
I started wearing them 10 years ago and I'm still
Still
fat,
not
so I don't know. Maybe
Super
they're-
healthy.
Maybe they're
Are
not
those
working out.
like
well,
Toe
your feet are very
socks?
healthy.
My
Let's go
feet
there.
are massively
Yeah,
healthy.
super
Sorry, all
healthy.
right, enough
All right.
distraction. I apologize.
No, you don't
Just
have to.
the toe reveal was
You
important
don't have
to me.
to.
Oh
we
my
wouldn't want
God.
you any other way, Joel.
Oh my
right.
god.
Rui's probably gonna kill me now.
Are they actually shoes?
All right.
We want him every other way.
Every other way. No.
That goes
It's all
around
good.
your
Like,
toes?
also, you guys make a really nice,
It's supposed to be really good for your
complement each
feet?
other really well.
I've got
Really?
pants. He doesn't have pants.
Exactly. Yes.
Same shirt as yesterday? No, I have multiple striped shirts. This one is slightly different.
It's a whole balance thing. It's
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to look up those shoes.
All right. While we still wait on the questions, there's collecting some of them.
I'm playing 5th or
Nobody has
10th.
any
I'm
questions.
definitely going to play on the
Maybe no
5th.
one
We've
questions.
answered
Perfect.
every possible
On the
question.
5th
we
at
could have
4 p.m.
is fully
I
answered.
wish. Like that's kind of the both the blessings and the blessing and the challenge of Dune Awakening. I think is just it has so many aspects of different games. You know that
She
we
really
try to put
enjoys
together
pet
and
scratches like
have
this.
people trying to understand.
Were you
so.
there when I was like presenting to the press about the game and I was calling Funcom morons for taking it?
Yes, of course I was
Yes,
there.
yeah.
I was
was fun.
expecting headlines.
I-
we
we
didn't
take
get
a
a
lot of
single
risks.
headlines.
Yes.
We didn't get a single headlines like that.
Yeah.
Funcoms are morons.
Well,
Chief Creative Director says.
well, we are like
what?
we keep trying to, like it's one of the things that I love about working here. Is like they let me do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
They let me try and do weird shit.
No, she's
Like
leaving
it's,
now.
it's like I could
She's
you
like,
could work
"I
somewhere
jinxed
where
it."
you're doing the same game every year. Speaking of reskins, like and you're making the exact same
Reskins.
thing and you're within this box and it's like
Calling
and
out every other game.
Like I do like that we're allowed to push beyond those things,
I
right? And
agree.
try harder to do something different. And yeah, it comes with a little bit of jank, but man, I don't know. I feel like it's like the...
I agree, though. I think one thing you can't say about us is that we like it easy.
No, exactly. We're morons. We make it hard for ourselves every time.
Yeah.
It's
We're
what we were talking about at
morons.
the beginning, right? We make unique games, right? We take risks, and sometimes it means that we make divisive decisions. But I think that's what was great about the beta, right? It's like people got to see what the true experience was. Oh, and here is
Exactly. So we're ready actually for the questions. So is that Lopil 125? Is the
Ooh,
exchange
Twitch
global
questions.
or per server?
It is per world. So the world is what we call a container of all the Haga Basin that you will play and interact with, right? So there are hundreds of worlds, so it is not global.
Yeah, it is 1 deep desert per world,
Yeah.
2 social hubs per world, and then many Haga basins per world, and that is what we call a world. And yeah, as Scott says, at launch there are hundreds of worlds to choose from, right? And within each world, there's many Haga basins to choose from.
Right.
Yep.
All right. And Speak asks, are the overland map dungeons instanced per player? Can you do them as a group, or are they open like the social hubs?
The answer is that they are not instanced for a group. They are per player, and they are not open like the social hubs.
They are instanced, though,
Yes, they are
to a
instanced.
limit.
To a limit.
So several people in the same world can be doing the same, like
Yeah,
the
single.
water fat
Yeah.
mansion, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which are is kind of our only
No,
instant
it was
content
muted.
in that
Nice
way.
try, chat.
Yes.
I had to do it. It was too much hair around here. I was breathing it all
Jolly
in.
Foxtrot TV asks, how do the different circuits work?
Oh, they basically isolate
Muted.
resources so that they can only be used if they're on that circuit. And then you can set a circuit for the, it's a little bit hard in the UI, but you can set like a machine's input and output circuit
Yes.
that way. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
the extent with it.
Like draw from this
How many
storage,
times I vacuum every day?
deliver to this
My
storage when you're
table-
finished, right? Like and that's how
Basically.
this,
It depends how
This
much they've been
group of
around.
Yeah.
connected
Typically
devices.
once a
exactly.
day.
And you can set
On days
a
like
certain
today,
number of
maybe
storages per
twice.
circuit, and so yeah. So yes, that's basically it.
In terms of general, like
Kriegsdrachen asks, how will they
The
ensure balance
rooms?
between Harkonnen and
yeah, like once a day, I
Atreides?
think.
There are systems. I think I talked about this in that other.
You
when I got
you
that
just
question.
mentioned as well as
I
like
hedged it
we
last time.
have, but
We
you
have
didn't
some
want to
systems,
spoil
but I'm
it,
not going
which
to
we
talk too
should
much about.
exactly.
And then when we introduce a third faction, which we are planning to, it will also have a
Yeah, I have to
role in
vacuum
that
once a day
balance.
because I have
That's
cats.
basically what I can say right now. But ensure,
before
I mean,
cats,
ensure
like
is
when
very hard.
I
Like it's very hard to like be 100%
Didn't have any
certain
like
because,
fur to worry
you know,
about.
when you give
Like
players
once a
choice,
week,
they,
I
they
think.
choose. And so you can't guarantee that it's going to be 100%, not 100% people on Atreides on a world.
It's very quick.
But I think we have pretty good systems in place to make sure that at least feels like it balances itself out pretty well.
Yes, and the deep desert is not Atreides versus Harkonnen.
Yes.
It is every
Yes.
person for themselves, right? So even if Harkonnen are kind of dominating a server, or they're 60-40, they're going to be fighting themselves in the
Yes.
deep desert as well.
And that's actually something I forgot to mention when we were talking about
Because
the
of friendly
Landsrad. Like
fire.
the Landsrad, you can see the different within the
guilds.
factions who the top guilds are and who contributed the most. Because a part of the Dune thing is that like it isn't that like everybody in Atreides is a monolith. It's actually like people want the Duke's attention. So they want to
Should
be
have gotten
further up.
naked
And
cats.
the
I
same
actually
with the
was
Harkonnen, right? Like
considering.
the
I looked at
want
one of
the
those.
Baron
I
to,
forgot what they're called.
Witness me, so I'm trying to get to the top of
These hairless
the
cats,
list of
basically,
guilds.
and
so there should be
they looked
inter-guild
so
competition even within the factions. So they overall
weird to
are
me. I
working
couldn't
towards
do
the
it.
common goal of the Landsrad. But they're trying to beat each other to be the best in the Landsrad, so they have the most voting power, they get the rewards, etc.
Can you just
especially
link
also
me
because,
sand for a
like,
cosplay
one
idea?
Atreides guild might be focused on PvP, the other one might be super opposed
Nice.
to PvP.
Yep.
So they definitely don't want the PvP guild to like get, we want full PvP. So
Yes.
they will, work against them and like,
Yes.
we want to be top because we want to have more say in which decree we're actually going to have next week.
Yeah, like exactly.
So-
a crafting guild's going to want the crafting decrees.
Exactly,
And they're not
yes.
going to want the PvP full loot decree, right? So
Exactly,
there's going to be
yes.
that kind of competition even within the factions.
Yes, exactly.
So, yep, good question.
Cypher asks, can our bases get raided?
So not in Haga Basin. They will be safe in Haga Basin. In the deep deserts, it's a bit different.
Yeah, in the PvE section of the Deep Desert, no.
Yeah.
But in the PvP section of the Deep Desert, there is a mechanism by which bases have a vulnerability window where they can be raided. It is a very short vulnerability window. And again, I would point to the lore of the Dune universe. So I'm sorry for everybody who hasn't read the books and doesn't know a way in which shields can go down for a brief period of time. But it is worth looking into because then you'll understand exactly how the mechanics can work.
Lores and book mentioned again.
Needlessly cryptic, but I'm sure there's people spamming in the chat about it already.
Let them figure it out. Altman Alchemist, if I don't take the mission to talk with House Atreides or Harkonnen, will I be content locked as far as progressing, sorry,
No,
the main story and the ability to craft?
Oh, if you don't talk to either of them.
No, the story, I mean, while it involves House Atreides and the Harkonnen, it is not about that. It's about you and your
Okay,
role
so you
on
can make the
Dune.
decision
It's your
later.
quest to find the Fremen and wake the
Exactly.
sleeper, right?
Yeah.
Have I read the
So
books?
the main story
No.
follows that. What
I
we were
watched the
talking
two
about, what we
movies
were
and
showing
I
earlier
started
with
watching the
different
series recently.
faction unlocks, like in terms of the visuals and those things, you're locked out of if you don't want to join a faction.
But those
You
are
can't get,
pure vanity.
but they're pure vanity, right?
No mechanics.
But yeah, you can't. But one thing you cannot join the Landsrad unless
I find
you have
reading
aligned
difficult.
yourself with a faction. Your
My
guild
brain,
must be aligned with a faction to
I guess an
participate in the
ADHD
Landsrad.
thing.
That is
It's
the one
difficult for me
hard
to
requirement
focus.
that I think
I get distracted.
faction alignment has in the game.
It's like I can read
That's it.
words,
Otherwise, yeah, you can do
like
all
I
the
can read a
content
whole
without joining
page
Atreides or Harkonnen.
and then realize like, wait,
I also
the
think
last
that when it
minute
comes to progressing,
I've been reading the words, but I'm
in the
thinking
beta-
about
during
like
beta
5
weekend,
other
we were
things.
still very much in the tutorialization part of the
I
game,
want to, though.
right?
Yeah.
So
I
know
want to
that
read.
Some players were like, "Whoa, this is very linear" and things. But the thing
But
is,
it's hard.
things open up quite more once you're past that tutorialization section as well. So you won't be actually locked progressing when it comes to crafting or where you spend your
I
points.
Yeah,
think
in the
audiobook while
opening-
reading,
Specifically.
sorry, while
in the opening
cleaning,
of the game,
has been pretty
after
good
character
so
creation,
far.
you actually get a choice as to whether you want to play with an unlocked tech tree or a locked tech tree. The reason we put that there is so that people who are advanced survival players or people who've played Dune before can just go, okay, I want the unlocked tech tree, I know what I'm doing. But
It's just sometimes I also have,
recommend,
like,
we recommend
hearing
the locked tech tree is
difficulties.
for people who are playing the game for the first time.
If
and
I don't
really,
see the
like,
words, sometimes
because
I
there
don't
are so
understand
many-
what I'm
We've
hearing.
been talking about it a lot today. There are so many mechanics
Like,
that are just kind
audio
of Dune mechanics that we
dyslexia
want people to learn.
or something. I don't
And we
know.
need to teach them. And it's going to be hard for you to know what to do. Like, you don't know about dew reaping and times of day when you should be out harvesting dew unless you follow the tutorials that we put in place for that, right? So it's just that.
Follow the tutorials.
Or that you need to go to shipwrecks to craft better weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Koopa is asking, is there a level cap
Yes. I
Yeah.
believe we're at 200
Yeah.
currently?
200.
currently.
But you can respec.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's, I believe it's on a 48-hour cycle.
Oh,
so
like a
even
2-day
if you
cooldown?
tap out and you play something and you decide you don't like it, you can
Yeah.
switch to
That's
something
that's quite
And there's
nice.
a point where you run out of, like, you stop getting unlock points for your tech tree, intel points. And then we have a mechanic in the game for you to go around and unlock more intel points by going to bases in the world, like enemy bases and outposts. So there's a level cap that puts a stop to some of those progression things, and then the next step from there is for you to go and explore more and enjoy the game more.
Because we do want you to make some choices. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Also, like, I mean, there's different level and skill point caps, right? Because you have a character level, you have skill points, and you have intel points. So
Yes.
there's like 3 different
Yes.
caps that you
Yeah,
particularly
exactly.
hit. K69N is asking, is it possible to lose all your gear in PvP?
So not in PvP in the base level. In the deep desert, you lose resources that you're carrying, Solari and Spice, and you take durability damage to some of your gear. Right, that's what happens every time you die, PvE or PvP. But if there's a specific decree from the Landsrad which enables full loot PvP in the deep desert for 1 week, then that's the only time in the game where you can lose all your gear in PvP. That's
Interesting.
Or if you're fighting in the sand and a sandworm comes and eats you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if the
I guess
sandworm
you
eats
lose
you.
all your gear in
Yeah.
PvP, but
Yeah.
we count the.
Yeah,
is the sandworm PvP really?
You know.
It's more like PvE, but yes, 100%.
PvPvE.
Wolfie 1974, are we going to be able to get blueprints that devs made of their bases?
Oh, the Tor Eigel presents.
Tour exactly, this is Tour Eigel presents. That's actually very
That's a
cool. I
great
love
idea.
that idea. That's actually a very cool
Maybe we can
idea.
fill up some vendors
Yeah.
post-launch with
Yeah,
some of our
That's a good idea.
I was just,
crewmates. Maybe,
yes,
we'll
I
see.
was just about to say I don't think players should actually pay for them per se, but we should, or maybe they.
I mean, maybe pay like just
don't
a
want
tiny bit
copies
of
of my
I
currency.
mean, you shouldn't know. No, actually, let me rephrase that. We shouldn't have a dev sell those items in game, but we can sell it via
Oh,
NPC.
sure, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I meant, right?
Maybe
Like,
we can put a vendor or something
that'd
like
be
that.
cool, yeah, like you
Yeah,
mentioned.
maybe a vendor in the world can sell some blueprints.
Yeah.
You see like Torigel bases
Today is the
everywhere.
guy. Today is the builder among us. Mine would just be no one
Minor
wants,
boxes.
No one wants to see my. I'm the guy who
Minor
tests
boxes.
TTP.
You don't have this.
TTP every time.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure we're gonna have players who make fantastic buildings. Okay, Quintinovic is asking, will GeForce now be in Dune Awakening?
GeForce
I believe
Now.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
I have no idea.
discussions going on.
There's
at least.
discussions.
We found out what GeForce Now is. Do you guys remember?
People are looking at it. Yeah.
I don't have Slack
It's
open,
like
otherwise
a,
I'd check
GeForce
someone
Now
else's
is
like
the
hackering
technology
service
where
to
you
me
stream
online.
the games.
question,
So you don't have to
I
have a
guess,
good
would be,
PC.
Will Dune Awakening be on GeForce Now
Yes,
for streaming?
yes, that's what I
yep.
interpreted.
I don't
as
know
well.
the answer. I'm sorry, but Scott.
Yeah, I don't think I have an official answer, but I believe so. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It was actually
Helping
pretty
Hans,
good.
How
Yeah,
do you
cloud
balance
gaming.
the council wins? If one side gets unique weapons, won't that side have a better chance to win the next vote down the line?
Not necessarily, because the tasks for the Landsrat are pulled from so there's 25 tasks per week, and there's a pool of 400 tasks that can potentially show up. So you first of all don't necessarily know what's going to be there. Unique weapons doesn't actually influence everything. Some of the tasks are kill tasks. You don't know which tasks are going to be revealed first. You also have to bribe Landsrat envoys with spice to reveal tasks. And if your faction does it before the other faction, you'll see, okay, we need to do this. So you might just get ahead because you had more spice or whatever. It's not going to come down to unique weapons. Absolutely not. That's not going to be the thing that means that one side gets a sudden landslide kind of advantage. So I think that's the best way to answer that, I think, from my perspective.
I think that's a great answer too, and I think it just goes again into people are a little bit too afraid that everything is about PvP and fighting endgame, and that's absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
And hopefully we explained that a little bit today as well for people to feel a bit more relaxed about that, or disappointed, depending. Dr. Evil Eye, is there any content or materials that are hidden behind PvP, meaning that the only way to obtain that item gear material is to risk losing to large guilds?
I wouldn't
Those
say
are
hidden, but
insane.
yeah, like you can. The Deep Desert, which we just explained, is a place where tier 6 gear is, like items and materials for crafting those things. You need to go there to get those things. You can buy them off the exchange. You can trade for them with other people. But yes, you have to go to that place in order to get those things. And there is a risk of people attacking you when you're in that place. We tried to explain that this is a very large place. It's not going to be possible for a guild to cover the entire space. It's
Yeah,
just
there's
not going to be
members.
possible.
Yeah. I think guild limit's 32.
The guild limit
Yes.
is 32
Yeah,
people.
Yeah. So one per kilometer,
Yeah.
maybe, if they stretch
Yeah,
across.
they'd have to stretch all the way across, and even then, I think there's all kinds of
Yeah,
tactics
yeah,
and
yeah.
ways to draw them off, and I don't think it's going to be a problem.
There are potentially hundreds and hundreds of people that can be in the deep desert,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So one guild would be outnumbered by 100 people.
Again,
Yeah.
if you want to rat, you can rat.
Yeah,
Like there's options, right?
Oh yeah,
And
now that
also,
we've
like,
finished the main
tier
story
6 gear
of
isn't
Expedition
required for the
33, I think I'll
story
switch
or
on
for
ads
anything
again.
that's having to
I
do
haven't
with
had
the
ads on
base
for,
and
like,
it's sort of just the deep desert loop.
But we
A week or
can't
two?
tell people that they can't get to the top number of
However
number
long
go
it-
up because
how
they
long
really-
has it been?
people
I don't
always
even know,
want that.
actually.
So,
Yeah.
so it's
There are
even
other
though-
ways to get it
Even
done,
though it's
yeah.
not required, I know people are going to want it.
I feel like it makes sense though, because those people who really care about the highest level tier are probably the PvPers, and they want to be in the deep desert in the first place. So I feel like it's kind of a natural balance there too. in that
Hopefully,
way.
we also have I think there's this weird.
After
speak to a lot
listening
of
to them
people in our
talking,
forums
I feel
later
better
in
about
our
the
Discord,
PvP in the
right?
game.
And
I
see
feel
that,
like there's
there's
gonna be
people who
a lot
kind
of things to choose
assume
from.
that everybody who is a guild in PvP is going to be this toxic, sweaty kind of. And I think it's going to be the opposite. I think we're going to have the good guy guilds who are out there actually.
The good guy guilds. Hey,
protecting
that's
people
us.
and like helping people out. I've seen it in the beta already. People, I got lost in the desert, help, and people would come and help them,
Yes.
give them
Yeah.
rides home,
Yeah.
like give them more gear. I've seen people in the beta like just give other people an ornithopter when they lost one because of a bug that was in the game from our end. They're like, "Oh, do you want an ornithopter? I have a spare one." Right? That's it's great to see. And I think that people worry too much about toxicity. Hopefully, we'll keep track of it.
I think when the
it
game is
should be
still
fine.
fresh,
And you
people are
have
more
one
likely to be
player
more
for
nice
the entire world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So and
in
you
general.
are your name, right? So you will have some sort of reputation.
Yeah, exactly. There's that as well.
Yeah, as a callback to more old school MMOs that I grew up with, like EverQuest and all those. But anyway, So we have 2 more questions.
There'll be some talk to be for sure, though.
asking, do you
Yeah,
need
for
a sync
sure.
chart for each
For sure.
person in your guild?
Yes. You need to create a sync chart for every person who's going to want to reveal those things
Yeah.
that you've got in your sync
They're
chart.
single-use items.
Yeah, they're single-use items, consumables, once you've created them.
And last questions. Neo Valkyrion, can transport ornithopters carry other ornithopters?
Yes, they can.
Really? Oh
They
my
can indeed. I was
god.
playing it earlier. I was flying around carrying a medium ornithopter.
They can pick up pretty much
Assault.
anything.
Yeah.
And
Well,
again, they have
anything
passengers
vehicular.
too.
Yes, vehicular.
That's
Can't pick up
cool.
people
No.
unless they're.
Inside.
They're sitting inside a vehicle. All right. All right. So that was it with the questions for today and also for our last developer stream before
Exciting.
Head Start and the official release.
Oh, it's actually ending.
I'm like still
It's been
like
2
how-
hours already.
Okay, so
It's like 7
how
days,
do
8
you
days.
how do you boys feel, gents?
Me
How do you
first?
feel?
Go, Scott.
Pretty good, right?
Pretty good?
So
Pretty
beta
good?
went really well from
Yeah.
our perspective.
Oops.
The tech was stable, and that's what we're always worried about because we knew the game was pretty good, or we thought the game was
We
really
think
good.
so.
Right? And all the tests we had
Proud
run
with
showed
your own
that. But
projects,
we
another
were
plus point.
a little fearful, that tech would hold, and it went really, really well with the closed-ish beta, right? The weekend, where, the server crash rate was low, the client crash rate was within our acceptable tolerance, and we're fixing most of the issues that we found. So cautiously optimistic, right? Incredibly excited to show the entire game, and so yeah.
Yeah.
See reactions.
But the last week is always
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Clinch.
it's 5 years of your life, right? And it's like
Did you say 5 years?
I think that's the thing that I think is like what I'm not sure people understand. Is like when you've been living and breathing this kind of thing for 5 years.
Oh, like they've been
And then,
working
like,
on this
you
for 5
see
years.
The game industry is volatile.
Yeah,
things
it is.
Don't go
Games
well
get
for
shut
people.
down all the
We have a
time.
team of that I love to work with. We have a team of great people that we've built over the last years, and it's like it isn't about like success in the sense of like I just want to say that like it is a game that I think is great, right? And I've played it and I kind of know that it has a lot going on, right? And I think it works well. And from the beta we got some confirmation of that. But I want my team to be together making games for a long time, right? So for me, this is like I'm nervous about that, right? Like the gaming industry is not a safe place anymore, right? It's not
No,
easy
it's
to
a
guess what's
brutal
gonna be successful.
place.
I mean, I'm watching.
I don't know
things
how
and,
it
like, you
feels
see
to work
things
on
that
a
are
game. It must
fantastic
be
from
so
small teams
scary.
Going great, like and there's been some fantastic games this year and games that you wouldn't have predicted coming out of nowhere, like Schedule 1 is a
Oh
great
yeah,
one, but
Schedule,
also,
that was
like,
funny.
Claire Obscura, I'd heard of it, but I hadn't heard of it until really it blew up. And so you see these games, these huge successes. So I think it's like you don't want to have the arrogance to think that you could be among that, but you hope. And that's kind of where I'm at least. I'm hoping we strike a vibe. I'm hoping that all the decisions that we made, and there's 10,000 decisions on a gaming project, right? There's 10,000 decisions, and every one of them is about moving towards a goal, right? Towards a vision, a creative vision, a vision of a universe, a vision that a guy created in 1963 when he wrote a book, right? And that's, I don't know, like I'm extremely nervous, but that's what we're trying to get to, right? And that's, I hope what people feel when they play the game is, yeah, okay, you nailed it, right? Like that's what we want.
And I feel like we've made an amazing Dune game, right? And it's the first where you're walking right on Arrakis. You're experiencing Paul's journey.
We're skipping 2001's.
Wait, Schedule 1 got pulled out in
But
Australia?
for me, right? In,
took
in
some
the modern
time.
sense anyway. So it's and we have a story we want to tell. People saw a really short glimpse of it in the beta, but there's so much more going through the rest of Act 1 and Act 2, right? Playing through that. And there's this long story that we want to tell over the, Lex, you said 10 years, right? On the thing. So,
Oh yeah, it was
so
ironic
we-
because it
we have
wasn't
a
made
long
in
story.
Australia. That's actually
We want
hilarious.
to continue releasing updates, every 3-4 months with additions to that story, in addition to the DLCs that we're going to come out. So when you buy the game, you're getting everything here right now, plus all the story content that we'll continue to release over the next years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do fine.
There's no guarantees in love and war, but you know what? I'll say this for the record. I'm really proud of our team and what they've done.
Yes.
And like, no matter what happens, all of them can hold their heads up high because they have worked really hard to bring this to fruition.
Absolutely, shout out
Aw.
to our teams, the many teams
Aw,
that work on this game.
Yeah, yeah.
all
Sending them
different
love back.
departments.
Every department.
And
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, it's a beast of a game. I think we
It
can
is a
say
beast.
that.
Yeah.
This has been really nice to
And,
listen
I'm
to.
actually getting goosebumps.
It's giving
now,
me
I'm
like
sorry. I'm actually
insight
getting- I'm
into how
such
much
a- I'm
passion
such
they
a-
have
I'm
into
sorry.
their
I'm
project.
Such a yeah. Anyway, but I think that's a wonderful note to end this again last developer stream
Yeah.
Yep.
on for before Head Start
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
release. One thing we can actually say is that you will be able to upgrade your editions on the 10th of January. So there will be an option.
10th of June, I
10th
think.
of sorry.
What she say,
June.
January?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I just that wonderful ending. I just completely read.
That's fine.
Oh well.
Congratulations.
Anyway, pro here. Right?
Yeah, 4
yes.
p.m.
So 10th of June, when the game goes into full release, you will be able to upgrade your editions. Should you want to do that, there will be options on Steam. And we'll be ending. Thank you so much again,
Yeah.
Scott and Joel, for
Thank
being
you,
here
Natasha.
during out of your busy schedules. So we really appreciate it, talking to us. And we'll have a last trailer. And
Or is it 2
with
different
that,
days?
I
It's
thank
early
you all
access
for
on the 5th,
watching
and then it's launch on
joining
the
us
10th.
today. And hopefully you'll enjoy what's coming your way.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. See you on Thursday.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. I'm gonna link my link again in the chat.
You're not quite dead.
There it is, guys. Let me know if you can't see it. If I need to spam it
Are
again.
afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. You will go to Arrakis as our agent. You have one task: find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper.
You were
Wake the
sighted
sleeper.
fleeing the scene of a terrible crash. Who are you?
You've heard the expression, the spice must flow. I am the man who ensures that it continues to do so.
Holy moly.
You, burst in fire, twin comets in the sky, the seer of lies. I am terrified of what happens when you awaken.
When you awaken. The focus on the little rat, was that a reference to the movie? Or I guess the movie might be a reference to something in the book.
We've all lost our way.
Yeah.
You can complete the mission.
Paul's spirit animal, yeah, exactly. Is it from the book? Or is it original in the
Every
movie?
person carries their past with them. Who are you?
Are you? Ooh. Holy moly. Dune Awakening. Pre-order on Steam today, coming to PC June 10th. There it is. I just noticed on OBS you guys have a pink line at the bottom. Oh no, you don't. Wait, what? Wait, do you guys see a pink line? Yeah. Okay. I think the full screen wasn't. The size was a bit off. It's my background, basically. It means it was 1 pixel too small. There we go. Now it's filled. Oh. What do you think? Will this be a hit or miss? honestly, with MMOs in general, it's really tough to keep people interested. I think initially people will be interested to like figure things out, discover, see what's going on. I think Dune is a massive IP, and I think a lot of MMO lovers like to experience MMOs to see what it's about. I was always a bit skeptical about the PvP part. I guess I kind of still am, but we'll see, I guess. But after listening to them talking, if everyone on their team is on the same mindset, then I'm feeling pretty positive about it because they, that's true. It's not really an MMO. That is also true. Yeah, that puts it in a different like playing field. With the way that they seem to really care about things, like for example, this is a dev talk. They don't have to randomly mention that people have been unhappy about the imbalance in PvP with the stun locking. They could pretend that's not even happening. So I felt like at least the talk is pretty good. They sounded transparent. They sounded passionate, and they sounded dedicated in many different ways. And I think they also sympathized with people who may not like PvP. So they're not like, yeah, well, this is a PvP game, so yeah, if you don't like it, too bad. Like, it wasn't really like that, which makes me feel quite positive about it. But yeah, it is, and like he said too, the gaming industry is insane. People are very brutal, and it's hard to know exactly what people want because feedback is also a very funny thing because people might give a certain feedback that they want a certain thing, and then you change it to be like that feedback, but then suddenly people lose interest, you know? So yeah, it's really complicated. It's really complicated, but they have I think they have decent foundation to start somewhere, and then we'll see where the game takes them. I hope that they manage to stay relevant for a long time because I'd like to see the continuation of the game, and especially now that I'm progressing through the series. I'm watching the series right now, and I like having IPs be like branched out into different mediums. So in this case, a game. I really like that. So yeah, I'm hoping. The company has been around for a long time. Yeah, that is true. Ironic that a game built on sand has a good foundation. Okay. I mean, the sandworm is pretty rigid. Maybe he's keeping everything up. Who knows? For me, it's a hit, but I'm not on the end game yet. Already got 60 hours out of it, though, and I'm only in the 3rd zone. Do you have access more than the rest of us? Or, because I don't think we had that. Did we? I think we had access. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, we did have the 3 zones. Yeah, maybe he has the closed beta thing. Yeah, that could be it. But yeah, I don't know how the end game is going to be either. It's going to be interesting to find out.